Hello everybody and welcome to episode 11 of the Grumpy Gaming Weekend podcast on the 22nd of June. We are all back together again now. We're all here, even though we're having to pre-record it this week, which is why we have no guests. I didn't have time. I didn't have time to find anyone. I'm sorry. But we're all back. How are we doing, guys? How have we been? Why were you not here last week, both of you?
Wait, both of us were away last week.
Yeah, I was on my own. I had to go with Guz.
What did I do? I forget.
Yeah, it's just like, where was I?
Oh, you weren't feeling well. Taylor wasn't feeling well. Taylor had a
Oh
migraine.
yeah.
You know what it was? It was because I wasn't here, so she was like, "Oh, I'll miss Elliott too much."
No, I can't Google my symptoms because I probably have a brain tumor, but I started getting migraines, which is fun.
No, not fun. I've only ever had like 2 migraines in my life, and both times I lost vision, so not fun. So we'll excuse you. But why weren't you here, Elliott? What's your excuse?
I was on holiday. I went to Poland. It was very nice.
Does
it
Poland,
was so
Poland
sunny.
not have the internet? Like,
I mean, I could have tried. To be fair, I say that they have Wi-Fi everywhere. So, like, literally just out in the streets, they have like city Wi-Fi. I was in a city called Wrocław, and they have like just city Wi-Fi, but it's awful. It's really bad. So I probably couldn't have, but yeah, I was enjoying myself, drinking cheap beer, eating cheap food.
You went with your mum, right?
I did go with my mum. Yeah, we went away because she was like, "I want to go on a holiday," and you haven't been on holiday in 7 years because that's literally the last time I left the country. I went to Turkey. Like,
Do you ever leave Europe?
Turkey's not in Europe.
I don't know. My geography's terrible.
So, like, yeah, I do. Leave
Have you ever done like a beach vacation to like Mexico or something?
No, my brother had his honeymoon in Mexico. I've been to New York City.
Yeah, that's a beach.
Was, like, really, really cool. Well, no, that's out of Europe, isn't it?
You ever done a beach vacation?
Yeah, I went to New York. It was great.
New York City. It was disgustingly
I saw a bucket
hot
of
all the time.
sand.
I didn't. There was no sand anyway. It was just crazy hot. I'm not really a beach person. I like city escapes. You like read a book, drink coffee in the street, watch people.
I kind of like nature.
Yeah, because you're from England.
I used to live on the seafront in England. I used to live on the seaside. So
yeah. For me, like a vacation that isn't really like a vacation if it's not on the beach.
So what, like a skiing holiday is just like work for you?
Like, no, because I can drive 2 hours and go skiing.
She lives in Canada. So... She can ski out a front garden. Like, it's fine.
I can drive 2 hours and then be in the sea.
Yeah, I can't do that.
We live in England. We can drive 2 hours anywhere and be in the sea.
Yeah. We
have the Muskokas. We have lakes.
You could drive into a lake. Equal opportunity. Is it fresh water in lakes as well?
Yeah, and we have like the biggest freshwater beach in North America, I think.
It's a freshwater beach.
For those who have never watched a podcast before, this is
I'm Canadian.
It's actually a gaming podcast. I don't know if anyone knew that. We are currently rebranding to a holiday and travel podcast. If you want to tune into episode 1 where we talk about how poor I am and I can't go on vacation. But no, we didn't actually. I was going to do the tagline this week. I was going to be like, "This is the podcast where we talk about gaming news and things we're interested in," but I forgot, and now we're rambling about holidays. But it's fine. But moving on swiftly, that's why we had to do an episode with Guz. It was actually a really good episode. We did it live last week with Guz, which was really awesome. And I was very appreciative of Guz hanging out because if it was just me, there's no way I could do a podcast by myself.
I think you could. That's what your strengths are.
I reckon you would try.
Yeah, but I'd bore myself. I'd be like, I need people to tell that they're wrong. I can't tell myself I'm wrong because that's a whole. Because
you're never wrong.
Exactly. Well, I can't be both right and wrong. Because if I tell myself I'm wrong, then I'm wrong for telling myself that I'm wrong. And so if I'm right, then I'm wrong and I'm right. Do you know what I'm saying? It wouldn't work.
This is worse than time travel.
Yeah, can we go back to time travel?
There's a what's it called when it's a paradox. There's a paradox in there somewhere. But anyway, regardless of paradoxes that hurt all of our brains, what have we been playing this week? I'm going to start this week because every week Elliott starts and then Taylor goes and then sometimes I forget what I've been playing and we move on. So I'm going to start with what I've been playing this week. So I've been playing a couple of fun games this week. I've been playing Cooking Simulator this week, which was a really cool one. It was it's a simulator game, obviously, like it's in the title, Cooking Simulator, but it's actually a decent one. So you guys really like these sort of trashy of simulator games.
Well, in me and Taylor.
Who does?
Wheelhouse.
Both of us. Guys, you like House.
You've been playing House Flipper like flat out.
But that's not Cooking Simulator. No.
No, but I mean like these simulator games, these games that are kind of like meme games or a little bit like PewDiePie-bait games, you know, it's like, please play my game online and get lots of views and sell copies for me. But this one's actually pretty good. As somebody who doesn't like House Flipper, really, I found it very, very simplistic. I actually really like Cooking Simulator. It's really simple. It's you have a restaurant and you've got to make dishes and you've got to send them out. But it's also kind of wacky and crazy, and it controls really well. Like, there's a lot of depth to the controls. Like, I noticed, for example, if you're slicing up a tomato, as a good example, like, wherever you slice, it actually slices. It feels like an actual tomato. I know that sounds really, like, wishy-washy, like, oh, realism.
From what I've seen,
it's
the controls
immersion.
are super... Like, if you're holding a plate and you go to grab something on the plate and you move slightly, the thing just, like, goes on the floor.
Yes.
It does. Like, it does. That is true. So if you like it, because you can tilt everything that you can hold, you can tilt it and stuff and you move around, but it feels solid. Like, it feels like however they've coded it, however they developed it, they've done it really, really, really well. Like, it's one of those games where you kind of need to play it to figure out the controls, but like it does, it's solid.
I played Surgeon Simulator for like maybe 10 minutes and just like rage quit immediately.
Yeah,
like,
that game was hard.
Yeah,
And in fact, it controls much.
Difficult.
Yeah, it's not like that at all. It controls
because that was brutal. And then you have to like give them the injection to stop them from dying. So you're like throwing things everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely doesn't feel like that to control. It controls very, very well. The difference is if you're not careful, if your plate is on an angle and you turn around, the things will roll off of it. It has very sophisticated physics. But that kind of makes the game fun, because we did a thing where we were cooking tuna and I was supposed to flip the tuna in the pan, which seems like a really easy thing to do, but it wasn't, and it ended up on the floor and we still served it. But that's fine. Nobody needs to know. But it's pretty fun, and you have to do like the recipes down to millimeters and down to specific amounts of salt and things like that. And every little thing you do wrong will give you like a negative score. It will like knock stars off your score. And the better you do, the more fame you get, the more money you get, the more tips you get. And I think essentially that game is if you go broke, you're done. I think that's how that game works. And so you keep going until either you run out of money or you just, I don't know how else you fail in that game. But it's fun. I've enjoyed it. Again, not usually a huge fan of these games, but I saw Twisty. You might recognize, if you watch every episode of the podcast, you might recognize Twisty Shape. He was a guest on previously, but he was playing it and he recommended it to me, so I really enjoyed that. I've also been playing Enter the Gungeon quite a little bit recently, because I haven't played that game since launch, and a lot of people have been saying it's been really updated. So I've gone back into that and been really enjoying it. I don't know how long I'm going to enjoy it for, but it's is it still currently free on Epic? Is it finished yet? Or is
I think it ended. Well, it's by the time this goes live.
Yeah,
it's
by
over.
the time by the time the podcast goes out, yeah, it won't be. But yeah,
I think it's close to finishing. But I picked it up for free, and I'm looking forward to trying it out because I've seen it. Like,
it's
those.
Fun. It's very
I
much
always
like
call them
Binding
Bullet
of Isaac.
Storm games, but I don't think it like
it is kind of like a Bullet Hell. It's kind of like a Bullet
Hell. That's
like
the
a
one.
like a soft Bullet Hell, like Binding of Isaac. If you played Binding of Isaac, it's very similar, except in Enter the Gungeon, everything's about guns. Even the enemies are bullets and shotgun shells and everything. And that they work that into the story. This is a Devolver Digital game, by the way, but they work that into the story where essentially the enemies you are fighting are part of this sort of like a cult, where they believe that only guns are okay, everything else is bad. So even so, they don't like melee attacks. There's a gun that I picked up this morning that every time you reload it will do a melee attack, and they're like, this is treachery, this is heathen, you can't have this. So yeah, it's kind of cool and wacky. It's not overly complicated, it's pretty simple, but it has that real replayability that I like. You know, like what I really like about these roguelike games is that every time you beat a boss, you get given some currency that can be spent in between runs, and so that will unlock new things in the gungeon. That will unlock new things in the gungeon, like new items, new weapons, new pickups, that kind of stuff. So I really like that. It means if you have a bad run, even if you only get 1 or 2 credits, you've got something, and you're still progressing. Whereas a lot of roguelites where you don't have that progression really trigger me, because it's like, well, if I die, I'm just back to the start. And it's why I like Isaac. It's why I like Dead Cells, and it's why I like this game. I like that you've got, and Slay the Spire as well. You've got those permanent unlocks that mean that, yeah, you're getting a little bit better each time. So big fan of Enter the Gungeon.
Can you stockpile the credits in that? Because I've been playing like a roguelike, and you can't stockpile them like in between the runs. You have to spend them or you lose them.
No, you absolutely can. You absolutely can stockpile the credits. They're just currency that you keep. You lose all of your guns when you die. You lose all your items that you've got on you. But then you have different classes in the game that have their own starting guns and starting items. But yeah, once you've unlocked a weapon or an item in that game, it will then show up in the future. And there's different ways of unlocking. You can unlock by finding it in the dungeon, or you can unlock it by using credits. So you have to, like, for example, you have a shopkeep in the, I forget what they call it, the breach. I think the breach is where you go between rounds. And to unlock the shopkeep in there, you have to go and actually find him in the dungeon. So there's a lot of that. You'll find a guy, you'll save him, then you'll die, and you'll think, oh, I've lost everything, but you'll go back to the breach, and you're like, oh, there's that guy I rescued, and then he starts giving you certain bonuses. So very much, I don't know, how long that will last, but there's definitely an element of you are continually progressing, which I need that in a roguelike game. I always do. But Elliott, what have you been playing? What have you been up to this week?
So I'm still playing Sekiro on stream because that game is crazy long, although I'm actually starting to make some progress now. So I have like a giant super magic sword and I'm getting some stuff to, like, I think I'm about halfway, I want to say. I don't know, but it seems to be progressing a bit quicker now. I also picked up Crypt to the Necrodancer, which is very similar to Enter the Gungeon, but it's a rhythm game.
Yeah.
So effectively, like, at the bottom of the screen, you have these bars that like go towards the middle of the screen, and you need to move when the bars meet each other, like a picture of your heart. So effectively, like the soundtrack for the level, like they're very like dum 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 dum, and you have to move on all the beats, and you gain multipliers if you move every beat. It messes up your multiplier, and I think it's like stutters you a bit if you move outside of the beat.
Yeah.
But it's very similar. So like you make runs and runs, you gain diamonds as you do it. And so like as you gain the diamonds, you can unlock stuff in the middle. But when you're in the lobby is when you can unlock stuff. But if you leave the lobby with diamonds still in your possession, then you lose them.
Yeah.
So like you have to spend.
Yeah. A lot of roguelites do that where you have to spend it. And if you don't have enough to buy the thing that you want, it's like, well, try again next time. It actually kind of sounds like a game that I played at EGX last year, which I'm hoping to try and see if I can find it again this year and maybe like do a little interview with the dev. That would be great. But it's a game called Soundfall, and that's kind of similar to that, but it's an ARPG almost, like a dungeon crawler ARPG. But you basically just run around and shoot things, and if you if you do it to the beat, you get better. So for example, you can dodge in that game, but if you dodge to the beat, you can dodge again. If you dodge out of time of the beat, you can't. So your shots do way more damage if they're on time of the beat and things like that. So that's pretty good. But that sounds good. What else? So is that all you've been playing? Anything else you've been doing? Sekiro, bit of Necrodancer.
Oh, what else have I've been playing Car Mechanic Simulator. Speaking of simulator games,
I think we've all been playing simulator games this week, haven't we?
It's just such a I love simulator games because like it's really good escapism for me. Like it means that I don't have to think about anything else. Like I'm sat in a garage, I take phone orders, someone drops a car at the garage. You like at the start of the game it says like, oh, just like change the oil in the filters. And then as you get more skills, it'll be things like there is a problem with the suspension, but I can't tell where. So you start pulling bits out, work out what's like knackered. But like you have a full car and all the interiors and stuff. And you can really like just rip stuff out of cars and basically take it down to frame. But like it's quite good to just be like, okay, I've got 20 minutes to spare, I'll go and repair a few cars, because it's like a good thing where you don't have to think. You just sit, you rip cars apart, you fix them, and then you send them off.
Fair enough. Taylor, what have you been playing this week? What have you been up to?
I think I have like a long list of games this week, but I did a co-stream. Let's go. Well, I did a co-stream with you and we played I think like 3 or 4 games, but
yeah, I didn't talk about that actually. Yeah, let's talk about that. That was really fun. I really enjoyed that day.
So we played Escape First, which is like,
so we played these over on Twitch, by the way. We streamed it. The VOD will still be available if you want to go and check it out. It'll be on my Twitch channel. I'll leave a link down below, but yeah, carry on.
We played Escape First, which is like a simulator for an escape room.
Yeah, it was really interesting, that game. I liked it.
So that one, we played the first version of the game because it has a bunch of expansions now, or DLCs, and we played that, which was fun. Like it had a lot of numbers.
It was very simple and very effective. It was like you say, it was just like an escape room. It had lots of little puzzles and lots of hints that you had to figure out. I mean, having 2 of us was really great because I feel like you can play that game solo, but having 2 of us was great because there was stuff that I missed that you got and there was stuff that you missed that I got. And obviously chat as well, having chat, like, there's some things that they found. We did have to be like, no backseat unless we asked for it, which was good. And everyone was really good. Everyone was well behaved. But that was good.
For anyone who's actually done an escape room, like I have, like it was almost exactly the same experience. You're just not going and doing like taking things apart yourself. But we did that. We played that crappy game where I had to find you and we couldn't figure it out.
Crappy game.
Because it was on a Thursday. We were intentionally, what we were supposed to do was do scary games together. And we were like, what? Because I do a scary game Thursday every Thursday over on Twitch. And so we were like, let's see if we can do any co-op scary games. And we just could not find any, like Dead by Daylight is the main one, but that's not really horror. So it's kind of like, what can we do together? And so this game came up, this SCP Containment Breach. And at first we had no idea how to play it. And then
we were running around. I didn't even realize that I could go so my character, you can just like phase through doors, but you can't open them if you go to the access point. So I spent like the first 10 minutes being like, I think I stay here until you find me.
Yeah.
And we didn't realize that we had to catch each other.
Yeah, it was odd. And then I think it was one of those games because you can play it with a lot more people, and I think it's one of those games where it probably would have been a lot more fun with more. Like 1v1 just wasn't like. Yeah.
Honestly, it kind of reminded me of like a 90s game my dad used to play, where you would go around and like capture people in a building that looked like that. But it was like not.
It wasn't. It wasn't fun.
It wasn't it. No.
No, it wasn't.
But we also played by request. We Were Here, and we really enjoyed that one. That was like another puzzle type game. Co-op.
Is that the one where like you're in separate places, but you have to like? So one of you will be like, I can see this, so you need to do that.
Yeah.
I've used the librarian,
it looks
and
really
one of use
good.
the explorer, and basically the librarian has more access to information than the explorer does, but the explorer can see things. And so the idea, even in the game, because we were doing it over Discord call, but if you're not doing it, the game's like you need to be on headset with each other, because it's like I'm describing what I see and you're describing what you see, and it doesn't always 100% match up together.
And some of it's time sensitive, so there is like pressure.
Yeah, especially one part of that game. No spoilers. There was one part of that game that was very, very time sensitive. Stage.
Yeah, so like the final scene, and like for anyone that thinks like maybe I'll suggest this game to a kid, probably don't.
I don't think it was that bad. It wasn't.
That would bother me if I was a kid. I was afraid of Harry Potter, so like
there was one scene that was a little bit creepy. It was a marionette. Yeah, it was creepy.
Elliott's face.
I was afraid of Harry Potter, and I'm like.
We should definitely play the second game sometime, because I really enjoyed the first one.
Yeah. So we played that.
The first game is free to play, and then the second one isn't, which I think is not a bad idea, because if you really enjoy the first one like we did, you'll probably be very happy to buy the second one. So
yeah, like I think that game was worth like under $10.
Yeah, I'd have paid $5.
You know what I mean? Like for what that was. Yeah. I don't know what the second one's costs. Because both went like
I have a job now. We'll get it regardless.
So then I also played Portal 2 co-op with Elliott this week.
We did.
And we did a little bit of Dead by Daylight. I've been playing House Flipper. I did a stream of House Flipper, and then I played like another 10 hours this week by myself. I just put on Netflix and go flipping houses, But that's about it.
House Flipper, we've talked about this before. I didn't like it. I bought House Flipper thinking it was going to be like a simulator game, and the reason why I didn't like it was because every mechanic in that game is just hold left mouse button. That's it. That's it. There was no like nuance, no complications. And I guess like you say, if you just want to hang out, play Netflix, and play a game at the same time, that's a perfect game for that. It's just mindless.
My only gripe with the game is like, for me, I do a lot of building in Sims because I just find it fun. Like it's relaxing for me, and I do that. But there's so many more options of furniture and like cabinets and different things. And in this game, you have like 2 options, which is like my only downfall.
I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like a Sims thing where you went into a crap house and you made it better and sold it for more money. And apparently that's kind of what the game does turn into. But like you say, it's just
that is what it is.
It's too.
That is what it is.
The first hour of that game is cleanup simulator.
Yeah, like the first 15 hours was like you learn all the different things that you can do.
15 hours.
Yeah, it's like
no wonder I never played
it's
it
not
again.
that long.
Yeah.
Oh,
it gives you a list of email jobs. So you're kind of like a handyman, and then it gives you like a list of emails that you can go and do the jobs. So then you do that and you earn up money, and then when you have enough money, you buy a house and you flip it.
But you can definitely buy your first house well before you finish the emails. Because I finished the email jobs, went to buy a house, and I could buy one that was like 2/3 up the list.
Yeah.
Because I'd made like enough money, so you could basically just go straight into the house flipping without doing all the tutorial stuff.
I didn't do that. It's not.
I didn't, but you
I shouldn't have said that. But yeah, and like the other thing is like if you want to build like an addition on the house, can you put a roof on it? Like, how does that work?
I think you can, but I'm not 100% sure.
Like,
I gave
some
up
of this
well
stuff I
before we
didn't.
got to this
Anyway,
point. I was like, no, I'm not.
Honestly,
I don't come to video games to clean up other people's mess. I don't clean up my own mess IRL. There's no way I'm going to clean up somebody else's mess. The reason why I don't clean my own mess IRL is because I'm too busy playing really fun video games. So there's no way I'm going to come to a fun video game and be like, yeah, let's clean up somebody's mess.
I guess I just need to go back to Sims where there's more stuff.
So yeah, so House Flipper just not my game, but Cooking Simulator was my game. I really enjoyed that. Although I will say what's really interesting is that we're talking about these simulator games. Like you both just said, simulator games are kind of like really chill, relaxed games. You just kind of mindless. You don't worry about anything else. Cooking Simulator, no, not that. That game is stressful. That game is hectic. That game is you're halfway through an order and you get 2 more orders and you're like, I don't know what's going on. I'm just like, I'm never ever going to work as a chef. That's what I learned from Cooking Simulator. But it's enjoyable stress, kind of like Dark Souls, I guess. Oh my god, Cooking Simulator is the Dark Souls of simulator games. There we go.
No.
Amazing.
No, I think that would be the Surgeon Simulator.
Yeah, actually, probably, yeah. Everything, there's a running joke, everything's got to be the Dark Souls of something. But anyway, we've got a few sort of mini topics to talk about today, because after E3, there hasn't really been any sort of major news, but there's been a few little kind of little mini news topics. Let's start with Dead by Daylight, since we just mentioned it. Dead by Daylight Ghostface just released yesterday for us. It released a few days ago if you're watching this podcast on Saturday. And yeah, we played a few rounds together, didn't we? Against many Ghostfaces, because obviously everyone's playing Ghostfaces.
Lots of Ghostfaces.
The character got a much needed buff from the PTB.
Absolutely. So they released him on the PTB a couple of weeks ago, and initially he was absolute garbage. Everybody's like, there's no point to him. So the way that Ghostface works, he has a stalking ability where he can stalk survivors, much like Myers does. He has to look at them, hold his ability, and after a few seconds, that person then becomes exposed. The problem with Ghostface, though, is he has to be in stealth mode to do that, and survivors can break Ghostface out of stealth mode. So when they initially launched him on the PTB, all you had to do to break him out of stealth mode was just look at him with your camera just instantly. He just instantly broke out of stealth. So if you swung your camera around in circles, you could probably knock him out of stealth.
And this was through objects as well, right?
Certain objects, yeah. All you had to do is have line of sight on him. Okay. So if he was peeking around something or above something, you would get line of sight on him. So people basically said he's trash. He's a trash killer. He's awful. And so Behavior turned around and buffed him. And in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, because I have opinions, they've buffed him too much. I think they've gone from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum. So now he works the same, except now you have to wait a few seconds before he becomes out of stealth. Also, it's around 45 seconds, I believe, you are exposed for. So once he has exposed you, there is no way of losing that exposure. So for those of you who don't play Dead by Daylight, exposure means you are 1 hit rather than 2. So it's much easier for them to kill you. And so there's no way of getting rid of it. There's nothing you can do. And so once you're exposed, it's very difficult because, a lot of survivors' defenses are reliant on that second hit. You might take that first hit getting over a window or something, and then you've still got another hit in you. So he's very, very, very powerful now, and they've toned down the noise that he makes when he uses his power, the noise that when he's exposes someone, a lot of things. And I think they've just gone too far with him. And we've talked about this a little bit before, but I want to talk about it in the context of, this is why I've said on the podcast, I've said it before, I think Behavior are releasing content too quickly. I think they're not giving their content enough time in the oven. I think they are just like, we want to get content out every couple of months. Because, it was not that long ago that Plague was released. How long ago was it? We've been doing this podcast for...
They do it every 3 months.
3 months.
Yeah, they do it every quarter.
Yeah, exactly. So it was 3 months ago the last killer was released. And now they've just released another one. And he's, in my honest opinion, he's not ready. He's not ready. They keep bringing out new content and then having to fix it later. But the problem with that game is while you're waiting for stuff to be fixed, your gaming experience isn't as good. If you're running into Ghostface all day because everyone's going to be playing him because he's new and he's shiny and he's fun, and he's overpowered, then you're not going to be having as much fun. We played him last night. How did you guys feel about it? Because I feel like he was still fun. He wasn't unfun like Legion, but it wasn't like, there's really not a lot you can do against him. Like, there's no real counterplay.
I had no negative feelings.
No, you
We
like
had a lot
playing
of
this?
games where we survived, and we had a lot of games where like
Well,
half the people died. And
the one thing I will say about that, though, you've got to remember a lot of these people are playing him on new with him, so people are going to get better with him.
yeah.
They haven't got
That's
the
true.
add-ons yet. They haven't got the Moris. They haven't got the, all of the perks yet. That's another thing, because it takes a lot of blood points to get a good build in that game.
You we played a handful of people who had like 4 gold perks and stuff like that. So like we were
but are they the right
that...
perks though? That's the thing. Like, are they the right ones?
Well, I suppose a lot of people were just using all of his perks. I suppose they were trying to get used to them. But
I put 700,000
really
blood points into him this morning, and I haven't got Ruin yet, which is a big deal in that game. You need Ruin as a killer essentially. So I haven't got Ruin yet. I did get Barbecue and Chili, which is my favorite perk. If you haven't seen my Barbecue and Chili video, it keeps getting views, and I don't know why. It's like 600.
Because you keep talking about it on the podcast.
I just don't know why people watch it though. It's a really crap video. But anyway, I got Barbecue and Chili. I got a small rank of that. I haven't got Ruin yet. I haven't got Noed, which I don't really run Noed. There's a lot of perks I haven't got missing, and I've got like a mishmash of perks, and I spent like 700,000 blood points on him. So this is what I'm saying. It's kind of like there'll be a lot of people playing Ghostface right now that don't have all the perks to make a solid build, but they will do in a couple of weeks or two. Maybe not even that. Maybe a few days. Then they will have his perks, and by then they'll have his add-ons. They'll have his rare add-ons. They'll have his Moris. They'll have all of that crap, and they'll be better at playing him as well because if they didn't play the PTB. Because a lot of people don't bother with the PTB. I didn't this time. I didn't bother with the PTB. So my first experience of playing Ghostface was yesterday. So for me, I didn't know how he worked, and I played a match of him this morning and I had no clue, so I got destroyed. So I think this is going to get even worse. And we did have a match where the Ghostface was very good at what he did, and I think he destroyed us a little bit too easily, honestly. What do you think, Elliot? Do you think he's fine? Do you think he's...
I think... I feel like he's leaning towards overpowered, but I don't think he's like horrendously up there. I think like his power is very useful, but obviously like the counter to him, I'm just reading the patch notes now, and it doesn't say that you have to survive or aim at him. They just said that they reduced the detection zone. So I think you can still get him with the camera, you just have to be more accurate with the camera. And
one thing I will say with Dead by Daylight is they give you a lot of very vague information. For example, they give you add-ons that say slightly increases something, or moderately increases something, or tremendously increases something.
Yeah.
I don't know what does that mean? Give me the numbers.
Yeah, there's no degree to that.
Yeah.
But so I played some matches obviously with you guys against him. I then went on later after we went off of Twitch and we
I'm sorry, I gotta be right back.
No problem.
Okay. But yeah, so like after that I then went on to I played a couple matches as him. And I basically most of the time I got kills. I never got like absolutely cleared off. My queue times were really long, which I think is just there's.
Did you play in the morning? I know my morning.
No, I played in the evening after we played. So
probably because a lot of people are wanting to play Ghostface, so there's more killers queuing than survivors. But I know in the mornings it's really bad queue times right now. I waited 20 minutes for a match this morning and then got a 4-man Swift. So I was just like, great. My first match and I was like, well, I'm going to play it anyway because I've waited 20 minutes for a match. I've not played Ghostface yet. I'll just play it. I got absolutely destroyed because I had no add-ons, no real good perks. I was just kind of like, I'll see how he is. I had no idea how to play him.
So I played him without any blood point, like stockpile, because obviously you play a lot more often than I do.
Yeah.
You said you put 700,000 blood points into him. I think I put like 12 in. So not 12 blood points, 12,000 blood points, and got up to like level 3 or 4 or something.
Yeah.
Which to be fair, that must be more than 12,000. But anyway, I put a load of blood points into him. I got to like level 4. The first match I got 2 kills, and that was running a single perk. And I chose the worst perk as well. I chose the obsession one. Yeah. Forgot there was a obsession one and then didn't do it.
That's not necessarily the worst perk. Have you actually read the perk properly?
Like, it was the worst perk for me because I didn't realize it was an obsession based perk, so I didn't utilize it. It was more.
Yeah, but you could have utilized it by accident,
I could have done, but no, I noticed halfway through the match that I was like, wait, this is an obsession base. I have an obsession and I haven't hooked them yet, which is the whole point of that perk.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I didn't think. I mean, I struggled with his power a bit, but I haven't ever played Myers before, who obviously is the other character that has a stalk system.
Yeah.
I like the off-screen indicators for if you're getting identified from behind. Like they were very useful.
So they kind of remind me of like first-person shooter indicators when you're getting shot. So they have that like little sort of like the ring almost, and if you're getting shot from, if you're getting like looked from behind, you'll have like it'll be like down the bottom somewhere. I like that. It's kind of
It took me a
hard
little while to work
see.
out what it was.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to notice. Like, I only noticed it halfway through my match, and then I was like, oh, right, okay.
But there's an audio cue for them as well, so it's quite good. So like,
Yeah.
I would hear the audio cue, and I would basically just try and dip behind walls and things.
Yeah.
I didn't realize his lean was automatic. So I was stalking someone, and I went up against a rock, and he just did the little like. And
yeah,
I
so
was like,
you can lean pretty much anything as well. Like any object, you can pretty much almost. it's they've done quite well with it. I will say that I really like his mechanics, and I really like how different he is, because like you compare him to Myers. Obviously, so you haven't played Myers. He does feel like Myers, but not.
I mean purely off the stalk.
Yeah,
I played one game
his
as
stalk
Myers, and
does
it's
look
hold
like
mouse
does feel
2.
like Myers, but at the same time, it's for a very different purpose. Even though you're both exposing people, I feel like with Myers
is self buff and
yeah,
Ghostface
with
is
Myers, once you've got
buff,
enough of
that's
your evil within, everybody's exposed. Whereas, and you're more powerful. Whereas with Ghostface, it's specific to one person, which is kind of like it's kind of nice because you know that if that one person is exposed, that the Ghostface is likely going to go for that person, so you can kind of play around it. But at the same time, this is why I said earlier there's no real counterplay, because if you're the person who is exposed, what do you do? Because you kind of, with it being 45 seconds at base, that is a long time in Dead by Daylight. Like matches of Dead by Daylight are over very quickly, and so 45 seconds is a long time to be exposed. And so I feel like it's just a little, again, it's a lot of tweaks that need happening, and so you could easily make it, maybe 30 seconds is the right number. But what my argument is that they aren't giving enough time to test this stuff, because they're going so quick and quick and I don't know, just quick. They're just going quick. I've got nothing. They're going very quick with these. They're bringing them out so thick and fast. That's what I was thinking of. Thick and fast. They're bringing them out so thick and fast that the content that they're bringing out isn't as honestly as tested as I think it should be. Just think about this for a second. The fact that the PTB was only on like last week, and they were changing it radically in the PTB last week, and now he's got released. Just think about that. That doesn't fill me with confidence, that they actually they actually are producing good.
Like, with any competitive game, I don't think there's ever enough testing, because like your testers can obviously play with each other, or you can start with PTBs or pre-alphas.
I agree
or
to a degree, though. This is what I'm saying. I'm not talking about small balance changes. I'm talking about radical balance changes, because when they released him, he was awful. Well, when they released him on the PTB, sorry, he was awful, and then they buffed him, and now he's incredibly powerful. And it's like, if they've changed him this radically within a week, did they do any in-house testing? Like,
I think they probably did, but
did they though? Because it doesn't feel like they did. Because they would have known he was trash if they'd have tested him in-house tested properly. They'd have known he was trash. Because when I say in-house testing, I mean usually, these companies will have people that maybe don't play the game as much to test, or they'll have like a range of people that will test the game. Because one of the problems of developing anything, this applies to games or anything else, is that if you think it's so great and you work on it all the time, you might not see the things that the customers see, because then customers come along, they haven't spent 6 months developing it, they haven't seen all the behind the scenes, they don't know how the thing works, and so they come along and go, oh, this is crap, or whatever. And there's always that element of when you release it to the public, you find out more, and that's fine. But I feel like with both Legion and Ghostface, they have both been I kind of want to say failures, in the fact that Legion is still not a good killer. Nobody likes playing against Legion. And the fact that Ghostface was, not only was he leaked, but he was leaked and then released in an unfinished state. Because he's not finished. He's going to get another balance tweak. I guarantee it. I will put money on it right now. He's going to have another balance, a mini rework, if you will, before people are happy with him. So
I doubt they'll rework him. They'll probably balance him a bit more, but they're balancing.
Yeah, no, I mean like a mini rework.
As it goes on.
He's gonna have more balances done to him before he's in a good place. And I just think that they could have, I'd rather they were spending a little longer on the content to get it finished and then releasing it in a better state. And so then we don't have, because we talked about this last week. Well, we talked about this last time we talked about Daylight. There's a real risk here that everybody's going to run out now and buy Ghostface because he's OP. So because he is a little bit more powerful than maybe he should be, everybody's going to run out and buy him. And then they're all going to buy him, and they're going to love him, and then they're going to nerf him, and everyone's going to be angry again. And they've done this recently.
If they nerf him to a balanced state, then it's like, because no one's going to go and buy him and be like, oh, I'm buying him because he's super OP, and he'll definitely stay that way until the game's finished.
Well, no, people will buy him because
who's doing that?
People, this is the same thing. I bought Ash purely for his perk. I bought him for Metal of Man, and that perk was absolutely OP, and they've just nerfed it again. So now I've got this perk, which now I kind of don't really want to use Metal of Man because they've, in my opinion, they've nerfed it too hard. So now I'm kind of like, well, I bought
really well against Ghostface, to be fair, because if you take Metal of Man. And so obviously when you get exposed, one of the counters if you're swiffing is that you just go and take protection hits.
Yeah, which can, can work if you're doing survive with friends, but protection hits impossible when you're solo queuing. When you're with Swift, even with Swift, it can be difficult to coordinate. And I will say to counter that point, he can just how quickly Ghostface can expose somebody, he can just expose you. So if you're coming to get protection hits, he's like, oh, I'll expose you too then. It's really, for the matches that we played, it's really not that difficult to become exposed with Ghostface, and he can do it very easily, that was his main weakness before. People were saying it's too hard to get people exposed because you instantly get out of your ability, your sneak ability. So for those of you who haven't played Ghostface yet, you have to be in stealth mode to expose somebody and to stalk them. So if you're not in stealth mode, you can't stalk them. But it's really not that difficult for a good Ghostface to get back in stealth mode. We had it where a Ghostface got back into stealth mode mid-chase, which was a little bit so that means I constantly have to turn around, which means then I can't run properly. So
well, when he's stalking, he slows down, so I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, but the way that the Ghostface did it against us was he would stalk for a couple of seconds when you were doing like a vault window, or maybe you're dropping a pallet, stalk then. And it's the fact that he could do it very, very quickly, and it doesn't take that much to get you into the thing. But regardless, my point is I feel like that they keep doing this, and I want to see if they do it again, because we're going to get a new survivor at some point, and I want to see if they do it that with the new survivors perks. They seem to have this trend of bringing out a really good perk or a really good killer and then nerfing it later. And I just think they've got to be careful with that, because if they continue to do this, people are going to get angry and they're going to be like, well, I'm not going to buy your new stuff because every time I do, I enjoy it, and then you nerf it. So it's almost like this time limited. Like if you bought Metal of Man when Ash came out, so if you bought Ash when he came out and you got Metal of Man, you had this really fun time where we were all OP. And I will say Metal of Man was OP. It really was. It really was an OP perk. So if you bought Ash on day one, you had a fun time for a little while with your OP perk. If you buy him now, you get less fun. So it's kind of like, in a way, and I really don't want to accuse behavior of anything just yet, but it does almost feel like it's like, hey, better buy it now while it's OP. And if you buy it later, it won't be OP.
I bought the Kate DLC so that I could have Decisive Strike, and then they took that away too. So like, I don't know. I feel like when I think about like the different killers and like all the things that they have that are like available to them, I can't really like put my finger on anything that survivors have. Like maybe Balanced Landing and Metal of Man, but like as you said, they've nerfed it. So like, what is there?
Well, you outnumber people is definitely one part of it.
Well,
but I mean, like for like fun variances, because like like life doesn't spark joy in the same way that Decisive Strike does, So I don't know. I think that's something to think about too. Like you get killers that come out and they're a little bit overpowered, but like you really don't have anything that you feel like you can use and then have a good time with it,
Yeah.
At least that's for me.
Yeah. No, I feel like I say, I mean, I don't want to accuse, I personally don't think behavior do have this ulterior motive, like, oh, let's make it OP so people buy it. I'm just saying that if they continue to do it like this, then it's going to become, people are going to start believing that. They're going to start believing that they're doing it intentionally. I do think that they just want to make fun perks. They want to make perks that are fun, and it's very hard to balance that game. We've said it before, it's asymmetrical. It's very hard to balance an asymmetrical game, especially when you're bringing out new content. But they've got to be very careful with bringing out these new perks and new characters with new powerful things, and then nerfing them later, because that could lead to a problem down the road. But anyway, that's Dead by Daylight. That's it's a game that we all continue to enjoy. Kind of
even it's a love-hate.
No, it is a love-hate. It is a fantastic game, and it is the only game of its kind, and it does what it does in a lot of ways very well. But I'm still going to moan about it. I'm still going to critique it. It's just who I am. I'm a games critic, sort of, so I have to critique it. But that's Dead by Daylight. If you don't play Dead by Daylight, we're going to move on to another topic, so don't you worry. Should we do a quick E3 recap? I know last week it was all about E3. Me and Goz did 3 hours, by the way. We did a 3-hour podcast last week, all about E3. But you guys...
I heard it was a long one.
It was a long one. That's what she said. But you guys, we all watched E3 together, and then I was kind of gutted that we didn't get to do a recap afterwards. So we're just going to go over a very, very brief recap on our final thoughts on E3 and what games we're looking forward to and what games we're maybe going to play together as well. I know we all said that we kind of... Elliot, did you think you're going to play Minecraft Dungeons? Is something that you want to play? I know me and Taylor want to play it.
I mean, if you guys are playing, I probably would. I played Diablo 3 for quite a long time. When I first got the game, I played it for like a little while with some friends, and then we kind of went back every season just for like seasonal content because it was just a nice little fresh. It's very different to a lot of other games that I play. So it was more of just we'll go back for the season, do the achievements, do it all again.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I played that for a while, and there hasn't really been anything else similar to it. In a little
I'm hoping
while. So,
that Minecraft is going to be... Because with Diablo was very much it was a very super serious game. I know a lot of people were like, oh, it's too bright and colourful, but it was kind of a super serious, this is Diablo, there are demons and we must kill them, and if you don't, the world will be over. I'm kind of hoping that Minecraft is just fun, like Minecraft is. It's just a fun game, and I'm
also
really
with Diablo,
intrigued.
There's very set metas. Every season there was always this is the set you need to have to do the best.
Yeah, and so I'm hoping
hoping it's not like that.
Yeah, I don't think it will be. I think... I'm kind of really intrigued to see what elements of Minecraft they take and put into this one, or is it purely just going to be an ARPG?
I think it's mostly going to be aesthetic. It's Minecraft,
Probably.
there's cubes, the characters look like Minecraft characters. I can't see it being much more than that.
But you never know, maybe there's some sort of building in that game, like in a crafting system or something. That'd be really interesting. But yeah, we're going to look out for that. We may be playing that. Taylor, what was your favorite games of E3? What are you looking forward to the most? Because yours are very different to ours, I think.
Mine are all the children's games.
Nothing wrong with that.
Wait. Did you guys stay a fan of Blip Blop or no?
I'm still playing it.
I deleted it.
I am literally still playing Blip Blop.
Yeah, I
deleted
it.
Really?
My brother sent me a picture the other day and he went, this game's stupid, and he'd prestige 10 times. And I was like, if it's stupid, why are you still playing it?
So the games I liked, I was excited for the Sims expansion to see actually what they were offering. It's called Island Retreat or something like that, I think.
Is it Island Expeditions? I don't know. I keep calling
not
it.
Expeditions.
I thought it was Island Retreat.
No.
Island Retreat, I think. So it's a different.
WoW.
It's a different
Island
map.
Living?
I don't know.
Oh no, that
So,
just seems too cold.
You can build right up onto the water, like an overhanging dock, and you can actually have your sim jump off the dock. They're putting in the first vehicles into Sims 4, which is going to be boats and jet skis. You can interact with dolphins and mermaids. So there's a lot of water activities, it sounds like, but there's also new building stuff, which I'm obviously interested in.
Lots of people are interested in
so I don't know if I'll get it right away, but I usually wait till they go on sale because I buy all of them. Otherwise I'd be
smart. You need a mortgage
to so I'll probably wait, but I'm really excited about it. They also had talked about some Pride stuff, which I think is pretty cool. They're putting in gender neutral bathrooms, and with The Sims, they're always very progressive with their diversity and inclusion. So I think that's something cool to talk about. I'm looking forward to Planet Zoo because
Planet Zoo.
So I have Roller Coaster Tycoon, and they have animals and stuff. And I probably spent I don't know how many hours making a cart that goes through each animal exhibit and then loops all the way around so you can first person it and sit in the cart and go.
I really like those games. I like Roller Coaster Tycoon. I like Planet Coaster, which we said this before. Planet, what is it called? Planet Zoo is made by the same people who made Planet Coaster, I think. So
yeah.
I really like those kind of games, and this is why I was so disappointed by Jurassic World Evolution, because I thought that was going to be that kind of game with dinosaurs.
With the theme you like,
yeah, and it wasn't. It was a escape simulator. So I'm with you. I really like those kind of games. I'll probably have a look at Planet Zoo, and if it's the same level of quality as Planet Coaster, I'll probably get it.
Yeah.
Did either of you guys play Zoo Tycoon? It was a Microsoft Store release. And it was on
I
the
didn't
Xbox
play the
360.
newer one. I didn't play the one that was on Xbox
Yeah,
One.
so
I didn't play
so
that
the
one.
newer one, I played that. That was on the 360, the one, and on the Microsoft Store on PC.
Wasn't that an Xbox One launch title?
I think so, but it was on the 360 as well. But I played that because I got the 3 month of Game Pass so that I could play Sea of Thieves.
And it was on there?
Zoo Tycoon was on the Game Pass, so I played that on the PC for a while, and I really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But I don't know how in depth this Planet Zoo is going to be.
This
Zoo
is my problem. I need to have a look at it because I need like a bit of depth. If it's too shallow, if there's not enough to do in those games, I get very bored because I'm not like one of these people who's like, oh yeah, look at the animals. I'm like, no, I want to build a park and make profit. Let's go.
So you need the like business aspect to it.
Well,
I like all the aspects. Like I like the cosmetic aspect too. Like I want to make my park look good. This is why I really like Planet Coaster, and you probably will as well, is because you get like a higher rating if your park looks good. And if you've got a higher rating, you get more money. So it's kind of like everything has a purpose in that game, you know? And I hope they carry that over.
So yeah, I'm excited for those two games. I did not play the original Watch Dogs. Watching that commercial though made me want to go and try the first one. I know I'm like
Watch Dogs 3,
not a shooter gamer girl, but I would try it. And like if they had an easy mode to like, because we were talking about this earlier, but like gaming has like some muscle memory, and like for shooting games, it's like an uphill climb if you're not doing it since you're like 5 years old.
Yeah.
So.
Definitely.
Like as someone who doesn't really play those types of games, like I see the art and like the work that goes into it and the plot lines, and I'm like, I want to play it. And then I get to the point where I'm like, I can't. Like,
and this is why we say like, difficulty modes are a good thing.
Yeah. So I might check out the original one and see how I feel about it before obviously I invest in like a brand new game because they are expensive. But I don't know, that trailer like sold me. I thought it was so cool how the developer was talking about how you could really play as any character that was in the story. You could go up, you could be an 8-year-old boy.
Apparently you can recruit any NPC in that game.
Yes, and they all have like their own narrative, it sounded like.
So I believe,
showed us.
I'm very interested to see how it plays out, but I think that when they say you can recruit any NPC, I think there's going to be templates. So there's going to be like templates of people. So you have like we've seen the grannies, and that's like my biggest selling point so far.
I know the granny was so fun.
I'm really interested. I want to make an army of grannies, a hacking army of grannies. I'm down for it. But I feel like there's going to be, let's just take grannies as an example. There's going to be grannies, and then each one are kind of similar. Like you'll have a granny, and one of them will have like she hates DedSec, and one of them will love DedSec, but they're all going to be kind of similar. Like so. I think it's kind of like they are using a lot of marketing speak when they say you can recruit any NPC, but at the same time, like I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that I don't think it's as spectacular as some people are believing it's going to be. I think it's going to be something where it's kind of like, no, you'll start to see the same people, you know, just with different names over and over again.
Right.
I mean, it'll basically be like procedurally generated, like because when they say everyone has a backstory, it will just be like
this person hates burgers
somewhere. Well, yeah.
Or they just might not have that many.
Pulls it.
Yeah.
Like it would just be like
it'll be
they used
Dave
to be a police
Smith.
officer, or they used to be this.
Favorite YouTube content is GGWP podcast. That's what it'll be.
Gotcha.
Dave Smith, if you're here, hey.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. I was really impressed by the Xbox segment in general.
I think okay, so here's my thing. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think the Xbox was that bad. I don't think it was amazing. I don't think the Xbox was that bad, but I think because it came after EA, I think it was a lot better. Because we said this, and I said this with Guz, EA was shocking this year. It was awful. Now I know
it was just hard because you watched an hour of FIFA and then Madden, and I was like, okay, like. And the problem with it is it wasn't even gameplay. It was like, here's this narrative about soccer and wherever it was, and it was like actors, and then they had like a professional football player come out and interview, and like someone who doesn't give two shits about football.
Yeah, which I don't either.
I don't really care.
Games, though, is that they can't show gameplay because the gameplay is the same every year. Like if you go, here's a load of FIFA gameplay, it's like. Yeah,
do you know what I think it is? And this is my own little theory, but what I think it is I think that 2019 is a kind of like a gap year. I think this year is a quiet year, And most of the games we saw at E3 are all coming out next year. I think 2020 is going to be a jam-packed year of gaming. And I think, and this is just my own little theory, tinfoil hat time, put them on, ladies and gents. I think it is the shift I've been waiting for a while now. I think that we had all of these live service games. We had every studio ever. First of all, they wanted to be a battle royale. They wanted to chase Fortnite. When they realized that wouldn't work, then they tried to be a live service. They tried to chase that. That wasn't working either. And I think these companies that were so desperate to get away from the sort of, traditional gameplay, single player, multiplayer, narrative, whatever, they're all coming back now. But I think it's taking them time. I mean, games, we say this before, games are in development for a year before you even hear of them, like a lot of people don't realize that. And so I think we're catching up now. And I think a lot of these studios are going back to just traditional gaming. I hope they are. I really, really hope they are. They're going back to making traditional games.
I love how you just said, the game industry is moving away from, battle royales, obviously not working, can't catch up with Fortnite, live service isn't working, it just isn't working out. And literally Bethesda, when Fallout 76 isn't working, we'll put in battle royale and it's a live service game. And I just, literally, as you were saying, I was like, everyone's learned.
In Bethesda's defense, how could you make Fallout 76 any worse? Come on. Anything they do right now...
Leave it alone.
Just delete it.
Make a new game.
Just delete it. Refund everybody. But no, so I think what it is I think one of the reasons why this year has been... I mean, last year's E3 was awful. It wasn't awful. It just wasn't that great. This year's E3 was promising, but everything's coming out next year. And I think it is because they're all going back to making these games, making, single player or more traditional multiplayer. Because the multiplayer is fine, but I think people are sick of live service. They're sick of battle royales. They're sick of every game trying to be Fortnite. So I think they're like, okay, we went back to that, but it took them time. And so I think this year's E3 was basically like a wait till next year. I think pretty much everything that we're super excited about is coming out next year. And
there was a game that we were all like, I don't know if we're gonna love this or not, but it was like a boat, and then you built on the boat.
Oh,
and
the furry simulator.
What was that?
Wasn't that one of the Devolver ones? Was that Devolver?
I don't know. I can't remember what day it was on, but honestly, the thought of that has stuck with me. So maybe it's something I want to look at, because some of them I completely forget about, and that one I don't know.
Spiritfarer.
No, was that in the PC?
What is it?
Which one was that in?
That's not the one with the moose, right? That's something different.
That's the one with you're on a boat. I said it looked like Battle Chef, not Battle Chef. Battle Chefs, yeah. It's like a kind of 2D art style.
Yes, but you end up building a boat with rooms and stuff. And then there was another one where all of the characters were animals, anthropomorphic.
I think that was the same game.
Yeah, I think that was.
Was it the same game? Okay,
yeah, they were all
I couldn't remember if it was 2 games or 1 game, but I don't know if it's the art style or what it was, but I want to see what it is.
I googled it because obviously I'd found the name of it. The first line of the description on Steam is Spiritfarer is a cozy management game about dying.
Yeah.
Well, it's called Spiritfarer. I'm guessing. What do you make a boat for someone's last day on Earth or something?
Oh no, you're the ferry master to the deceased.
Yeah,
so you build a boat to explore the world, care for your spirit friends, and guide them across mysterious seas.
That sounds really interesting. I'm sold.
Yeah,
it sounds like a cool little chill game.
Yeah,
yeah.
But once again, 2020.
Yeah, honestly, I think 2020 is going to be a much better year of gaming, and I hope that's the turning point. I really do, because I've been moaning all freaking year. Right, I have been moaning so much that I would love to be able to actually go back to just reviewing games and, talking about games. And I don't mind having a good mix of good and bad games or, whatever. But I feel like this last year or two, it's just been mostly bad with the odd good game. I think the majority of games coming out this last year or two have just made me go, ugh. And that's not what I buy video games
the worst
for.
Games more.
I don't think so.
Good games came out in the last year. We had this. I swear we had this conversation.
So many haven't. Again, let me.
Well,
tell you.
you were talking about all the games you've played, Elliott, that you've really liked.
I've played so many games this year that I've really, really, really enjoyed. But I mean, a lot of the games. If I look at a game and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not a big fan. Obviously, Grumps likes to critique stuff. I'm more just if I'm not a big fan of it, or if it looks like I'm not going to enjoy it, I'm just okay, I'll leave it. It's fine.
I just think when we're looking at the big AAA video games, your main games of like E3, I think most of those games have been trash. We've had some good middle of the road games. We've had some more smaller studios. Really love Resident Evil 2 this year. That was a fantastic game, but that wasn't a big blockbuster AAA release. It wasn't. You know, it was still a $60 experience, but it wasn't a big blockbuster AAA release. So I feel like a lot of those big flagship games have been really, really, really let downs these last couple of years. And whereas as much as I can enjoy an indie game, I can enjoy a AAA game. Doesn't really bother me. I feel like when most of your big major titles are trash, it's very hard to get excited about the industry anymore. And it's not just me that's thought this. I've had conversations with other streamers who are like, I just don't know what to stream anymore because everything coming out just isn't exciting me. You know, things like Anthem, Fallout 76, all of these kind of big games that we used to get super excited for, just disappointing. So I'm hoping that 2020 turns that around. Again, we look like we have lots of great games coming out. And I hope that the good games outweigh the bad ones again. Because it used to be that. It used to be the majority of games coming out were good, and it was the minority that were bad. And I think this last year or two, it's been the other way around. So I'm hoping we go back to that. But Elliot, what's your standout? What's your, like, what games are you most excited for from E3 this year?
I've got three that, like, I'm really, really looking forward to. Jedi Fallen Order.
Yep.
I am super, super, super keen for.
Yep.
As I said before, we watched the E3, and the next day I wrote, filmed, edited, and released a YouTube video on it because I was like, I'm really excited to play this game. And I took all of the footage that E3 released, and I like cut down, I broke it down and kind of went like, this is what the combat looks like, this is what the exploration looks like. And there were some critics that looked at the video footage that was released and kind of said, like, this looks like a linear kind of like Last of Us or Uncharted or so, like where you're going like through and through.
Honestly,
because what they released did look kind of like that. You like
I don't agree.
You jumped across the first bit and then you went through a cave and then you came out the cave to what, like, there was a linear corridor, almost like the Final Fantasy 14 problem.
Yeah, but one thing I will say to like counter that is whenever we have like a linear narrative driven game, there's always like, we see cutscenes. We see like story.
Yes.
And there was no story shown. It was gameplay. And we now know that the game is semi-open. Like you can choose which planet to go to and you can travel between planets.
Yeah,
and
they said that you have a spaceship, you have a crew. You can just, well, I'm not sure if it's like because old Knights of the Old Republic, you basically went to your ship, you went to a panel and said, I'm going to go to this planet. It'd be a cutscene, you go there.
Yeah, it probably will be the same as that, yeah.
The way it's worded, because they said you can fly between planets, so I don't know whether there is going to be like a space flying, or whether it'll be like the No Man's Sky awesome. Space flying, which is like you aim at something and just go until you get there. There wasn't really anything in space in No Man's Sky. There was nothing on the planets either.
No Man's Sky was a clever trick, though. Like, No Man's Sky very cleverly layered loading screens in between, like, the ozone layer.
Yeah.
So I'm basing that on no actual evidence. It's very clear, that, in my opinion,
that
game that it was.
They hid some loading in and stuff like that, but yeah, they've confirmed that it's going to be Souls-like combat, which I was already 100% sure it was going to be anyway.
Kind of. They've confirmed that the Souls-like elements to it, so we still don't know.
They've confirmed that a lot of the combat is one-on-one. The smaller mobs are basically trash that you just clear through. You have killing blows. You have a posture meter. Like the combat is very dodge, block, parry, sword play. It's very Sekiro.
What for me though is it going to be as difficult as Souls-like combat?
No.
That's what I'm saying. So for me, it's not Souls-like combat then, because like Souls games aren't the only games to have that kind of combat style. Like, we've had games before that have had that combat style. Like, to me, Souls-like combat is hard. You know, that's part of the whole point of Souls.
Have done it. Have been more like hack and slash than they've been. I don't think this is quite hack and slash, but it's not quite Soulsborne. It's like, I think
and again, we don't know if they have difficulty modes, so there might be difficulty modes, but maybe it's like a hardcore mode. So maybe there is a mode that's like Souls-like, which I think would be a very smart idea. I think in this climate, it would be very, very
play
intelligent.
The hell out of that.
Yeah, because there are people like you who love that kind of challenge, and there are people like Taylor who probably doesn't like that kind of challenge. You know, so not in an action game like that anyway. So, in fact, to be honest, I'd probably go somewhere in the middle anyway. So yeah, I think we still need some more details, but it's looking interesting. I
definitely think it's looking good.
I'll play it regardless because it's Star Wars and I want to know the story, but I kind of wish they'd shown a bit more like of the actual game mechanics off. They showed a very heavily scripted, heavily curated vertical slice, and a lot of that was jumping around and climbing, which I'm not going to lie, I've done that in every game. I've done it in Tomb Raider, I've done it in Uncharted, I've done all that crap. I want to like do something different. And some of the combat things did look interesting. Like we'd said before, when he like froze that blaster bolt and then force pulled the person and put him into it, you know, the stormtrooper, that looked great. But I want to know more mechanics. I want to know what kind of skills am I going to get. I want to know what kind of like you know, I want to actually see the combat. I want to see the UI, because there's going to be more UI elements on there that they hid. So I want to see all that kind of stuff. And people,
I kind of like the UI that they showed. I really like a minimalistic UI, and that was about as minimalistic as you could get.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, they've confirmed with a lot of the skills, it's going to be like Metroidvania-esque. So it's going to be like you get force push, then you can push out those like broken doors that they showed.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of your skills have combat uses, but also are like Metroid, where it's like, oh, you get the certain missile, and then you can open these doors, or you get the ability to turn into a ball. You can go through the tunnel bits.
Which they have said there are Metroidvania elements, and that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool, you know. I don't know. I feel like if they can kind of craft a story alongside this open world kind of exploration, then that'll be great. You know, if it's kind of like I'm hoping that there is a good solid story alongside that, you know, and that the gameplay is kind of separate a little bit to the story, if that makes sense. So I'm hoping.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what it, because obviously I think it's a part of Star Wars, isn't it? Like, apart from if you go really deep into like the comic books things, I think it's a bit of Star Wars that hasn't really been looked into in like mainstream stuff. There's the movies,
there's a big time gap. There's a big time gap between episode 3 and episode 4, and you're right. I think there's definitely a lot of potential in that gap. And this game is already confirmed to be in between 3 and 4. So it's all about Order 66. You are one of the last few remaining Jedi. You don't have the huge Jedi Order. You don't have lots of allies to call upon. You are kind of fighting for your life. And, you know, we've seen Saul Guerrero in there, so there's going to be some characters from Rogue One. We have seen the droid, I forget his name, but he's one of the Imperial droids who's like a big boss battle, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I don't know, I'm interested. I probably will buy it. I probably will just buy it, and I'll probably do a full review.
I definitely will buy it. I'm, to be fair, from the conversations that I've seen the last couple of days and some of the videos I've been watching, I've got to a point where, because I don't really do the pre-order, part of me is like, if I was going to pre-order a game, it would be this or Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Don't pre-order it yet, because we haven't seen enough of it. But
don't
pre-order it anyway. But if you're going to pre-order games,
is there a benefit to pre-ordering? Is it cheaper?
No, you usually get something like a skin in the game, or maybe like a little bonus like that in the game. Sometimes you'll get like a very cheap sort of physical thing, but yeah, no, not really.
It also generally means that you are definitely going to get it on day one.
Yeah.
So if you pre-order it, like I've pre-ordered games before and I've gotten them the day before they come out, where they've put the delivery in.
That doesn't work anymore, because if you buy it on console and then you install it, it won't let you play it till the actual release day. They used to do that, because I remember Amazon used to be really bad for this. Amazon used to send games out, and they were so scared of people getting their games a day late, because everybody knows gamers get very angry if they pre-order a game and then they get it a day late. They want it on release day. So Amazon was so like, we want to make sure you get it on release day, that in some cases they used to send games out a day early. And so people would get the game a day early before everybody else. And that was like a whole thing. Oh, you might buy it, should buy it on Amazon. And I know that's not fair. Like if the release day is a Tuesday and somebody else gets it on a Monday, I'd be pissed. So yeah, one of the ways that they stop that now with consoles is that the game is, the game's not on the disc anymore. The disc just triggers a download, and then you download it, and then you still gotta connect to the server to play it. So yeah, I don't know. You know my opinions on pre-ordering. It's a culture that benefits them and it doesn't benefit us. So don't do it.
Yeah, so what I was saying is that it's the kind of game where in my head I'm like, ooh, I would, if I was ever going to pre-order a game, it would be that. I'm not going to, but
I mean, don't let me tell you what to do. But so what else?
I generally try and avoid it.
Yeah. What else are you?
I mean, I've already brushed against the next Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like,
we're gonna have a little conversation about that one. A little one. Just there's a little minor thing we want to talk about with Final Fantasy VII, but continue.
Yeah, the Final Fantasy VII Remake. I watched the Squeenix one the next day, and literally watching it, I got all the nostalgia feels. I teared up a bit, being like, "Oh my god, this game was my childhood."
Okay, wait, you teared up?
Yeah, no, flat out. I don't know. I was watching it and I was. It's just like, oh my god. I mean, I've completed that game. Like,
she's like judging you.
I've completed that game like
now.
6 or 7 times.
So hard right now. Hey, look, I've said it before. It was the first Final Fantasy game I ever played. I loved it to death as a kid, and I still love it to death now. It's one of my most memorable games I've ever played. The story of that game is fantastic. The characters of that game is fantastic. I love the material system.
brilliant.
It is. It's a masterpiece. It is, and especially
also
of
the combat
time.
system they've made for it, I'm actually excited for, because it's basically an ATB, but you hit stuff in the middle of waiting.
No, it's not an ATB. It's okay. No, it's
you
not.
can basic attack between.
No, it's
but
not.
your skills and stuff are all on the ATB.
We said before that we were very angry, not angry, but we were kind of disappointed that this game that we loved is coming out and they completely changed the combat style to almost Final Fantasy 15's combat style, which everybody who loves Final Fantasy agrees. We want the traditional ATB or turn-based system. We want our team and your team to be standing opposite each other. I select my dude, I select what he does or she, and they do it. And then the enemy does it. And that's what we like. But Square Enix seems obsessed with modernizing Final Fantasy. And they almost seem scared of the ATB system. And so we said this before we even saw the E3, that we said that we were kind of gutted that it was a shame that the ATB system wasn't in it and it was modern combat. So what happened on E3? They were talking about it and they were showing off some combat and they said, hey, we hear you guys like the ATB system. And everyone was going crazy, and then they showed off the ATB system. It's not a proper ATB system. So what they've done now is it's a fully real-time action. But when you have enough, generate enough of your gauge, you can trigger ATB and that slows down time and then you can select a thing to do. So it's kind of like a modern, it's like a mix. It's like I actually really like this system. It's like a mix of the modern. I think it's a good balance. Yeah, it looks, until I actually play it, I won't know. But it looks like a really good compromise between the original turn-based system and the modern real-time combat. And it really reminds me of Transistor. It reminds me of a mix between Kingdom Hearts combat and Transistor. If you've ever played Transistor, it had a very similar thing where it's real-time.
I need to play it. I've played Bastion and I loved it.
Yeah. I kind of preferred Transistor over Bastion, honestly. Taylor, have you ever played a Supergiant game? Have you ever played Bastion, Transistor? You'd probably like them. They've got amazing soundtracks. They've got really cool little stories. They're only short games. They've got cool little stories. Art style, yeah, they're gorgeous games, and they're like top down. So they do have kind of, well, Bastion has shooting, but it's top down shooting, and Transistor is a bit different. It's not really shooting. Yeah, you got like a sword. You can do.
So when you say top-down shooting,
so you're looking down from the character.
View, I would call it. Yeah, you're kind of like above, and you see the stage, and then your character's in it.
You're locked to a circle essentially. If you imagine an analog stick, you go around in a circle with the analog stick, and your character goes around in a circle like that. But it's 3D. It's kind of hard. It's kind of. I'm trying to think of another game.
It's weird to explain.
It is like Binding of Isaac or Enter the Gungeon in where.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's not that difficult to control. You'd be able to do it. It's not like first-person shooter levels of.
I like how it sounds like Taylor's just really just awful at gaming.
No,
she's not that
Taylor
bad.
just doesn't like first-person shooters. Like a lot of people don't. And
you know what? It might not even be like a story-based first-person shooter like problem. It's more like if I'm playing like. My experience with like Fortnite or something is like all my friends are still alive and I'm dead, so I'm just waiting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're like,
Yeah.
So like it's like that, I think, is like my biggest.
We should try you with Halo when the new Halo comes out.
I literally thought you were about to say we should squad up for Fortnite, and I was like, no.
No.
I play it occasionally, and I enjoy it for like a day, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm done. Halo, because Halo is really good, because Halo has you have shields, so you have a lot longer time to kill, so you don't have to be as like with Call of Duty and games like that. You've got to be so quick with your shooting. With Halo, you don't have to be as bad, and with Halo, a lot of the times they give you like co-op opportunities, like they'll give you a vehicle where one of you drives and one of you shoots. So you can kind of help each other out quite a lot. Yeah.
So I'm going to be the driver.
Yeah, perfect. Honestly, I feel like you might be okay with Halo because it is much more of a slower paced first person shooter.
I don't know if you're around, but everyone was trying to convince me to play like Rainbow Six Siege.
That is a very difficult.
Wasn't that because you tried to April Fools everyone? You were like, yeah, I'm going to be a gamer girl.
Yeah, but then
play Rainbow Six, and everyone was like, oh yeah, play with me.
Everyone's like, play.
I mean, I would play with you for the laughs, but if you're not good at FPSs, Siege is not the one to start with.
No, I'd probably just cry.
Very tactical.
Yeah, and also, you die very quickly.
Also, I don't think I can handle the verbal abuse, so...
No.
When
people find girls in that game, that is one of the worst cases of games where girls get called out, or anybody gets called out, because it is...
And I'd be trash, so it's not even like I could defend myself with like...
Yeah, exactly. Pull an ammunition on them or something. But no, so we'll do we'll do a little very short conversation with Final Fantasy in a moment because we want to talk about the stupid controversy. But what else is standing out for you? What is your
I really like the look of 12 minutes. I think 12 minutes is really good.
Same.
Yeah. I just think it looks so different to every other game I've played.
Very interested in the story, honestly. And it looks
like,
kind of like a point and
style,
click almost. Like it has like point and click elements, maybe.
I think it's like very problem solvy, but obviously like it's 2D and like a 3D world in a 2D like control system. And it's like completely top down and it's like a time loop game, and I'm just like,
yeah,
I like
very interesting. It's probably quite not a very long game. It looks indie quality, but it looks very interesting. I'm very looking forward to it. So what games are we going to play together? Because we've been talking about this for a little while now, and we have started doing some GGWP plays or GGW plays. Yeah, it would be.
We've done a few
plays.
separately.
We've done a few, but yeah, we've been talking about we really want to do like the occasional content where we play games together. So what games are you guys like? What games do we want to play? I know we want to play Minecraft Dungeons. Is there anything else from E3?
Are we ever gonna finish our Stardew Farm?
We can play it. I like Stardew.
That was chill when we did that on Sundays and like just relaxed.
Yeah,
I'm
much better at Stardew now as well. I know it. I'm good at Stardew. I have it on Switch, so
you're making it work.
I don't want to play Stardew alone because I don't want to mine.
Just like the mine. The mine's too much like a combat game. Can't deal with it.
Yeah, no thanks.
I really don't mind the mining. It's quite therapeutic. Until I forget to come home, and then it's like the game's shouting at me. It's like it's midnight. I'm like, oh crap, and then I die.
You're dying.
I don't know what co-op game? Not co-op. What
there was one
multiplayer games are out there for us to do.
Me and Guz were saying last week. I'm super excited for it, and I can't. Fall Guys, I think it was called. I think it was called Fall Guys. It looks like a gamified version of Takeshi's Castle, and if you've never seen the show Takeshi's Castle, it was amazing. Go watch it. You'll probably be able to find it on YouTube or something.
Yeah, it's called Fall Guys.
But yeah, it looks. There are games in that. There are rounds in that are literally exactly the same as ones in Takeshi's Castle. There's one where you have multiple walls, and some of the doorways in them are paper, and some of them are wood, and that is ripped completely from Takeshi's Castle. But here's the thing. I don't care.
Is that Takeshi's Castle? Or is that I thought that was there's another one that's
there's definitely Takeshi. It might be in the other one.
What do they call that one? Like Knock Knock.
Yeah. It's called Knock Knock. And so it looks like a fantastic party game. It looks like a perfect streaming game. If you've got like 100, I think it's up to 100 players can play that.
Holy.
So yeah, if you've got like a big streaming community, like even if you've got like a smaller one, like 20 people can play together. Perfect. Looks fantastic. Have
you seen Doom Eternal have got asymmetric multiplayer? So like one of you plays as like a big demon, and the three of you play as Doom guys.
I'd give it
but
a
like
go.
There's so many people just being like that's never going to be balanced because
that's
it's like
what we didn't see at E3. We didn't see any of the Predator game. I'm really looking forward to seeing more details on that one, the Predator, because that's another asymmetrical PvP, and we said that we might play that if it's good. I love Predator. I'll probably play it anyway. I actually can't think
what else. Animal Crossing showed that it looked like it had multiplayer.
I ain't playing it.
Yeah, I'm not that.
I'm not playing it. Nothing against Animal Crossing. I just it looks far too simplistic for me. I don't know if I think Pokemon is multiplayer, but I don't know if it's just the raids that are multiplayer.
They have the weird multiplayer raids, which look really cool.
Yeah, but then I don't know is like the rest of the game multiplayer. Can we go around in the world together and catch Pokemon? Because that would be amazing. But I don't know if it is going to be that way or not.
You can see each other in the world, but I don't think you can interact.
Yeah, so maybe not that. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, Luigi's Mansion! If we can get Switches.
Multiplayer Luigi's Mansion does look really cool, but I think it's only 2 players. Because one of you plays as Gooigi.
Oh, I thought it was more than that. I thought I saw more than 2. I'm gonna fact check you. I'm gonna fact check you there, Elliot.
Was it Luigi's Mansion? It's 3, isn't it?
I'm guessing so.
The one that's coming out, because I've played 2. I know it's 3. I'm just being dumb. Oh no, there's like a dungeon crawler one that is 4-player
multiplayer,
and it's not the story. So the story mode you can do with 2 with Gooigi.
Yeah.
And then the other one you can do is like it's just a hotel and you clear a floor, go up a floor, clear a floor, go up a floor.
All right. Well, potentially.
Which like I'm still up for.
Yeah.
Like that's fine.
Do you guys have Switches?
I have a Switch. I just showed you my Switch.
We're gonna do a GoFundMe.
We need to send Taylor a Switch. What about that other Ghost game? That other Ghost one. That was where 4v4, 4 of you are ghosts, 4 of you are ghost hunters.
Oh, that looks really cool.
Yeah, that looks cool. I forgot what it's called.
The
That one
ghosts just
looks
have to
okay.
last till midnight.
Yeah,
But,
and they're super powerful.
I love
Oh,
that
right.
they outed it literally like right after they announced their remake in one of the old Ghostbusters games, and it's basically Ghostbusters.
Yeah. So there was
what was that? Something hotel?
Yeah, I can't remember. I just remember Ghost game. But yeah, I can't think of anything else. We'll keep you updated if we as the
Midnight
games come
Ghost
out.
Hunt.
Yeah, Midnight Ghost Hunt. As the games come out, if we get anyone, co-op ones that we're all interested in, we'll hopefully do some content. Maybe on Twitch, maybe on YouTube. We have been talking about we wanted to do some content for YouTube. We'd love to do a multi-perspective, but that's a lot of, considering that we're all not in the same place, that's going to be tricky, so it's going to be a lot of work. I'm still down for it, but it all just depends on time and whatnot. But we'll keep you updated. All right, let's move on to, if you want my highlights of E3, go to last week's podcast because I talked about it for 3 hours, so I'm not going to repeat myself.
Otherwise, today's going to be 5 hours.
Yeah, it will be 5 hours. So let's cover this. I want to cover this. It's nothing major, but Final Fantasy VII, there's been controversy.
Controversy.
Again. So we had the controversy before E3 where Kotaku did honestly a bullshit article about Barrett's voice being all like, oh, it's stereotypical and blah. So we're not talking about that. That was bullshit. But we had more controversy after we saw Tifa.
Talk about this bullshit instead.
Yeah, we're talking about this bullshit. Well, this bullshit's more current. So we had the trailer and we had some gameplay of Final Fantasy VII shown at E3, and Tifa was absent until the very end. Like they kind of, for those of you who don't know, Tifa, all of the characters in that game are beloved. Like everyone loves Cloud, Barrett, Tifa. Every playable character in that game is beloved, and even Sephiroth, the antagonist, is still a very iconic and beloved character. So Tifa being a very strong feminine character, well, she's female, she's a very, very strong female character. She literally beats people up. That's what she does. Everyone else uses weapons. She just punches people. She's awesome. She's cool. She's iconic and everyone loves her. And so they left Tifa as like the reveal almost. Like they had this kind of like, here's Cloud and here's Barrett and here's blah, blah, blah. And oh, by the way, and the crowd was all going like, and then they showed off Tifa and she was beating people up and it was glorious. It was just everything you wanted.
Really good.
Yeah, especially knowing that this is going to be a real-time action-based game. They showed off of some of Tifa beating people up and I honestly was blown away by it. I was just like, I can't wait. Because you hop between the characters in Final Fantasy VII Remake, so you'll be playing as Cloud. Now when you're playing as Cloud, Barrett is automated and then you can switch over to Barrett and then now Cloud is automated. So you have your party like you used to. And each character has like different strengths. Like obviously Barrett is a ranged character, so he can reach things that Cloud can't. And so I'm really excited to be able to, play as Tifa. So this all happened, this was all fine, and because we can't have nice things, people started complaining about Tifa, because if you've never played the original Final Fantasy VII, Tifa was, let's just say, a very well-endowed lady. She was a incredibly well-endowed lady.
She was
in
a
certain
busty
aspects.
mama.
She was a very busty mama. And people are claiming that they have, in their words, not mine, nerfed Tifa by making her boobs smaller. Now, I'm not going to throw this image up. Go and Google it yourself, and I highly encourage you to do that. Go and look at the new Tifa from Final Fantasy VII Remake and tell me that she's not still very well endowed.
Like, it's, to be fair, with the graphics as they are now for the remake, it would be so ridiculous to have her boobs as big as they were.
Well, they
like,
were,
it would just look
again,
weird.
the old games were, you got to remember, back in Final Fantasy VII, look at Cloud's arms. People's arms were like blocks in that game, and so everything was blocky.
They narrowed in the elbows.
Yeah, they narrowed and then went larger again. I mean, especially Barrett. It was really obvious with Barrett. The graphics were so bad at the time that it was kind of, there were proportions of people that weren't perfect because it was 1990s graphics. It was 96, did it come out? I think it was 96.
I think it was 96, yeah.
The
cutscene graphics were pretty good.
They were good for the time, absolutely, but the in-game graphics were not perfect.
Awful.
I mean, yeah, they weren't great. I mean, they were good for the time, but they weren't perfect. And proportions were out. And so, yeah, Tifa did have some very large assets. Yeah, assets. Let's just remember on YouTube. Can we stop saying it? Just we're on YouTube.
What? YouTube can't flag us for that.
YouTube probably can. This is YouTube we're
Memories.
talking about, Elliot. This is, I know that's what Gal said. This is YouTube. Let's just not risk it. Anyway,
Why?
so I want to talk about this because there are some people that are claiming that they've done it to appease certain groups of people. And in today's climate of, I would usually say maybe they have a point, right? In today's climate of everybody getting offended at everything, everybody nitpicking everything, especially with female characters, everything gets, put under a microscope and everything's like, oh, this is not representative or whatever. And, with things like the culture of today being very, very different to the culture of 1996, I could usually say maybe they have a point. But there's no story here. She still has huge assets. They're honestly, they're not, in comparison of real people, they are pretty big. Taylor, have you seen it? Have you seen Tifa?
I love how we're having this conversation. This might be my favorite podcast so far.
She's really, it's baffling me. It's baffling me that I think this is just a non-conversation. She really doesn't... people are saying it's censorship, and I'm just like, what are they censoring? She still has pretty large chest. I don't get where the censorship is.
So some of the stuff I've seen written about it is it's pointing out the fact that it was what they call Square Enix's ethics department who requested the designers do it, which obviously it means that someone somewhere in an office turned around to it wasn't just the designers being like, oh, we need to flesh the character out a bit with differently because of this or this. Basically, someone somewhere went, you need to do this because if you don't, we're gonna catch stuff.
The thing that I would say though is that in the original they were comically large. The original they were unrealistically large. I know Final Fantasy VII is set in a completely different planet to ours, and it's in a but it looks like she's had work done. But they were comically large. And here's the thing, and I said this, we've had a private conversation about this, and I said this, I think you've got to remember as well that they're doing, she's much more animated than she used to be. They're doing a lot more of real-time animations for her combat. And let's be honest.
So you're going to have to dead or alive it.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Let's be honest. If she had the same proportions she had in the original now with the fully 3D style, it would be kind of silly. It would be kind of
it would take away from everything, probably.
Yeah, it would make it unrealistic. It wouldn't be, and because with the new one, it looks very realistic. Well, it looks much more realistic than in 1996. So the game looks much more immersive. And I think if they were going to have her with these giant boobs, as much as it would be more similar to the first one, it would also be kind of silly. And honestly, I'm just kind of I could maybe see their point if they completely nerfed her, but dudes, she's fine. If you find Tifa attractive and that's the reason why you enjoy Final Fantasy, I don't see how you can complain. And in fact, she kind of looks the same proportions as Advent Children Tifa. I'm gonna be honest.
I was literally about to say, have you seen Advent Children? Because Advent Children, they kind of...
Cloud looks very similar to Advent Children Cloud too. And I said this.
I hate Advent Children Cloud.
I'm not a huge fan of Advent Children Cloud either, but not his personality.
Elliot, click the link I sent you. I think you should do this cosplay.
I don't want to click the link.
The second one.
Get the link, but I'll see it after the show.
I will definitely. To be fair, I actually had a conversation a while back that I was gonna plan to do that cosplay.
Yeah, you should.
Who is it?
It's a Tifa cosplay, but it's a dude.
All right, okay, I'd see that.
He's just got gardening gloves on, white tank top, and suspenders.
Is it a really crap
something
cosplay?
shoved up his shirt? It's funny.
I mean, that's not gatekeep, but it's like a budget cosplay.
Yeah. It's like he's in his gym shorts. It's not a real cosplay.
But yeah, I feel like we're getting to the point now where both sides of this argument are getting ridiculous. You can't reduce somebody's chest by a few millimeters without people losing their shit now, and it's just come on, guys. I mean, the game I wasn't sold on until I saw the E3, and now I'm sold on it. I'm going to be buying this regardless. So I'm super looking forward to it. I'm actually really excited to see what they do with it. And I'm hoping that this is going to be another instance of what they did with Resident Evil 2, where they took a fantastic, beloved game and then remade it, but different enough so that it doesn't take away from the original. So it's a new standalone experience, but it has, you know, it has that nostalgia feeling. It has that, oh, I remember this, but it's new. And so I'm sold. I'll be buying it on day one. I don't even care. I'm not pre-ordering it, but I'll buy it on day one. If I have the money, I might even buy the collector's edition, and I never do that.
Have you seen the model the collector's edition comes with? It comes with the motorbike.
Yeah, it's a soft one below. So I'm gonna assume they're gonna sell it separately. So I'm not gonna buy that edition.
No, maybe.
It definitely is a soft bundle. I checked.
I'm more interested to know what they're gonna do. So basically, the same interview where someone said like it was their ethics department. In the same interview, they said that from the minute that they said they were going to remake the game, everyone was saying about what about the Honeybee Inn scene. So there's like a couple of scenes in Honeybee Inn where it's like there's one where Cloud dresses as a woman to infiltrate Don Corneo's mansion. There's another bit where you have like all these dudes in a hot tub together.
Yeah.
And there's some
two dudes chilling in a hot tub.
6 feet away from each other.
No, 5 feet apart because they're not gay.
Wow.
That's the meme. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so basically, they said in the same interview that basically what they've done, the way they said it is that they've made it so that Cloud being convinced to cross-dress to go into the mansion has been made more modern, is literally how it's worded. I'm interested to see what they do with it.
So we've confirmed that they still have the scene in, which I'm happy with because it was part of the story and I want the whole story. So,
I mean, it's kind of an integral part of the story as well, because like literally the character, the whole point is that's why Tifa's there. It's because he finds these attractive women, and then Tifa basically exploits the fact that he's bringing attractive women in, and as a member of Avalanche, she goes into his mansion and tries to catch him out.
Yeah, which in essence, you could argue that it's like, oh, it's the man has to save the woman, but it's not like that. Like Tifa is fully capable of defending herself, and she does fully defend herself in that scenario. But the only thing is that she's surrounded by all this dude's henchmen, and she can't take them all on, and so you have to come and help. It's very much, it's not like she needed to be saved. It's more like you needed the whole gang there. And in fact, Aerith was just as much as helpful as Cloud was. So depending on your party, of course.
One of the whole points actually in the thing was like Cloud turns up being like, I'm here to save you. And Tifa's like, I don't need to be saved. Like I'm here working for Avalanche doing a thing. Like I haven't been kidnapped or anything. Like I'm not a damsel in distress. I'm just like, I'm working. I'm doing stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, that was one of the scenes that we were all like, are they going to put it in? Are they not going to put it in? So I'm glad that it's in there. I don't mind if they maybe change the tone a little bit to match up with today's standards. The fact that it's in is already very encouraging because like we said, it would be very easy for them to just say, we can't have that anymore. We're not having it in.
Well, apparently they're really, really padding out Midgar because it's episodic releases. Apparently I think it's the first 2 episodes are both in Midgar. So they've already basically pointed out.
I know they said the first one is going to be in Midgar.
I thought it was the first 2, but it might be just
I've heard the first one. And the way that me and Goz were talking about it,
in the original game.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing though, because me and Goz had this conversation on last week's episode. So from the gameplay that they showed at E3, that boss battle that they showed, so they showed the Scorpion tank, which in the original in the original game was just a tiny little mini boss, right? And in the remake, it's much larger. It's much longer, it's much bigger, it's much grander, and it takes much longer than it did in the original. It's got whole different phases. It's got like 3 different phases, I think we saw in the E3 gameplay. And so it's much more fleshed out. And so if they've fleshed out that little tiny mini boss to that extent, like how much have they fleshed out the dialogue and the other stuff, So it's kind of like
they have fleshed it out like that and not just made it so it's like, oh, you have to just fight through more stuff.
Yeah, and we're fighting now in fully 3D immersive environments now as well, so it's kind of like, maybe that goes on longer too, because really, you could get through areas very quickly in 7, especially if you like ran away from fights, or if you just, you beat fights very quickly. Whereas I feel like in this one, the fights are going to be a bit longer because you are running around, dodging, ducking, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel, and I hope this is what it's going to be, Final Fantasy VII, they're going to go for something on the scale we've never seen before, which is a fully fledged, massively, and I said this so much last week, but like blockbuster experience with amazing graphics and giant open areas and loads of enemies and huge big fights. Because again, these areas need to be pretty big if we're going to be running around and fighting in them, right? So the area is going to have to be pretty big. So we're going to have a game that we've never had the same scale as before, but it's going to be split up into chunks. And so I can really see that. I can see it being like as long as they don't leave the story in really odd, awkward places, like as long as they leave the story in a good place, and then you wait for the second one, like I can see it being not bad. There are issues, and I still have these issues, like how does progression work in this game? Like if I get super strong in the first game, does that carry over to the second game? And there's issues like that, but at the same time, I think I'm just going to enjoy this one. I think it's going to be a game that I'm like, yeah, do you know what? It might not be the perfect format that I want, but I'm going to enjoy the story. I know I am, because I know the story already. I'm going to enjoy seeing the differences. I'm going to enjoy the graphics, because I look at the graphics. So I'm kind of just like, yeah, I'm just going to enjoy it. Like, it's going to be weird and different, and maybe I'm not going to like the episodic factor, but I'll enjoy it anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, Final Fantasy. Maybe this should be Taylor's first entry into Final Fantasy, because everybody should play it. Maybe, you know, just at least once. I
want to make Taylor play the original.
Oh, it's such a great game. Such a great game.
It's so long, though.
It's not, do you know what? For JRPG standards, it's quite a short one. It really is.
If you blitz through it, know what you're doing, but if you don't know what you're like, if you don't
even
know
without,
the game,
like, even without, Final Fantasy 7 is quite a short compared to most RPGs. In fact, even compared to most Final Fantasies, it's one of the shorter ones. So, but yeah, that's Final Fantasy 7. I'm sold. I will be buying it. Our last thing we want to talk about is another controversy, I guess, if you want to call it that. Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the reboot, the soft reboot they're calling it, which is, I think, pretty accurate, is not
under fire.
Everyone hates it.
It's under fire. That was a good pun. I like that one. It's under fire a little bit from IGN. So if you haven't heard the story, I tried to get the article, but it's a video on IGN. You can go and find it. I'll try it. If I remember, I'll leave a link down below. But essentially, a bunch of people from IGN got access, as other journalists did. Journalists, IGN.
Stop. This is ad hominem attacks. Keep to the facts, Grumps.
Journalism. Anyway, a bunch of journalists got access to some gameplay of Modern Warfare at E3. Obviously, I didn't, but you know, I wasn't there. So, anyway, they got
next
to play
year.
it, and
we'll be invited next year.
Sure. This Modern Warfare, the developers have already said that this Modern Warfare is taking a bit of a different approach. Whereas certain Call of Duty games in the past may have sort of glorified aspects of war, this game is doing the opposite. This game is going to be showing you how horrible and gritty and grey. They keep saying grey areas with this game, and it is going to show you the grey areas of war. And what they're saying is that it's to reflect the way that war has changed. I mean, in the past, you know, war was a lot more black and white. It wasn't, by the way. But when you're talking World War II, most people are like, oh, okay, Germans, bad guys, British and American and French, good guys. You know, I'm simplifying it, but that was kind of how it was. And warfare was always, there was a good guy and a bad guy. I mean, it's never been that way. War has always been grey area. But as war has evolved, it's gotten even more grey. And one of the things that they're saying about this game is that they want to show the actual, like, really gritty stuff. They want to show, you know, how terrorism works. And most warfare now is around terrorism, not necessarily nation versus nation. In fact, there's not really many nation versus nation wars anymore. It's all kind of, you know, political, if you will. And so they're trying to show off things like terrorism and, you know, human hostages and people who dress like civilians but are actually, you know, enemies and things like that, and how that can be, you know, incredibly difficult and again, gritty grey areas. And so some people from IGN got to play the game and they didn't particularly seem to like it. In fact, they seemed to be very negative about it. And when they're talking about it, they're saying things like, it made me uncomfortable and it wasn't enjoyable, and I hope the rest of the game isn't like this. Now, it turns out, I haven't seen it because, again, I don't think anybody's seen it, but it turns out they had a very small section of the game to see, and this section of the game involved a fully kitted out squad of soldiers with night vision and guns and all of this lot, essentially storming a house in London. And in this house, there are some people who are civilians, and there are some people who are dressed as civilians, and there are people who take human hostages, but then those human hostages pull out guns on you. And there's apparently very gritty scenes with somebody getting stabbed with a screwdriver. There's people forcing somebody else to kill somebody they don't want to kill. There's lots of this kind of stuff. And so IGN were very, very, a lot of these people who were reporting on it were very kind of, I don't want to say they were unhappy with it, but they didn't particularly enjoy that. Now, for people who don't really give a crap about IGN or know about IGN so much, IGN at this point is kind of a meme in the fact that they will give anything a 10. You know, they will, and a lot of games journalists are kind of this way, that they'll give any big AAA game a high score because it's a big AAA game and they're probably paid to. So IGN in the past have been accused of being overly positive on games like Call of Duty, where people are like, hang on a minute, this game wasn't great and you're still giving it 9s and 10s. And IGN, I don't want to call them shills, but the boot fits, right? So for IGN to come out and be like, yeah, this game isn't great, what we've seen so far isn't great, it's kind of a big deal. It's kind of a big deal from IGN. What do you guys think about that? Taylor, obviously, you're not a Call of Duty fan. You don't really play Call of Duty. You don't like the first-person shooter genre. What do you think about the whole topic and subject matter of games being maybe shocking or maybe being, you know, a little bit too real, maybe?
I don't get it. I don't. I don't see the enjoyment out of it in the same way as like you experience like killing people in Fortnite. You know what I mean? Like the gore and the feelings of like you're saying, like watching things that could potentially happen in the real world. Like I don't know. I don't understand wanting to play that. So it's hard for me to like give an opinion that doesn't really like form around that idea. So
absolutely.
I don't know, to hear that it's like worse, like I don't know, like I wouldn't be a game I would ever buy. So like to say like it's worse than it was, like people who are already playing that game, that's probably part of the enjoyment they get out of it. So like if that's a genre people like, then that's a genre people like.
This one, by the way, this isn't usually how Call of Duty is. Call of Duty, in a weird way, because Call of Duty has had like, you know, shocking like twists where somebody betrays somebody and kills them and things like that. But Call of Duty is kind of in a indirect way glorified war. It's always been very kind of like, you know, the bros, let's go in there and we're the only ones that can do this job. And boots on the ground and all that kind of crap.
Yeah.
So there's always been this element of that. And so I think for a lot of Call of Duty fans, this is even going to be a bit like, whoa, you know, like.
Yeah. And like the problem isn't so much like the general public getting this game, but like teenagers, children, people who are mentally unstable, and then they're watching like graphic like
this
content
game
like
will
that.
Probably be mature rated, 18 Peggy rated.
But we know that doesn't stop people.
Of course,
so, like,
of course.
I don't know.
My opinion on this one is it's kind of like Game of Thrones, right? Game of Thrones, for those of you who don't know, in the first season, a major character gets killed off, towards the end of the season, and that sets the tone for the rest of the show, the 8 seasons or whatever it was of Game of Thrones. And a lot of people loved that because it was, oh my God. I mean, Game of Thrones, George R.R. Martin, I'm just pulling this out of my head. This is just an opinion I have, by the way. But like Game of Thrones, George R.R. Martin said that he wanted to show the realness of war. And in war, people die. In certain other, genres of fiction and fantasy especially, everybody who's good wins and they live another day. I mean, look at Lord of the Rings as a good example of that. And George R.R. Martin specifically quoted Lord of the Rings as being like, that was great and he loves Lord of the Rings, but it's not real. It's not realistic. In a war, a lot of people die, and a lot of those people will be good people, and a lot of those people are your friends and people you really didn't want to die. And so that's what he conveyed in Game of Thrones. And Game of Thrones blew up and was huge and successful because of just how real it was. Even though it had dragons and magic and all that crap, it was so real. People you thought were, he's a surefire gonna win, didn't win, and they died. And then you were like, oh crap, where do we go from here? And bad guys won in some ways. And the end of the last season of Game of Thrones is kind of pants as it was, very much emphasized that, like gray area, like who is the good guy anymore. And so I feel like in storytelling in general, in movies, TVs, books, whatever, I feel like we're getting to this point of where people really enjoy that realism, and so I feel like I can see the leap that they went for. And the thing with a game is you take that same thing, but it's more impactful because you're doing the thing. And that's where it becomes a bit of a, is a bit different to a movie. You can watch somebody else murder somebody in a movie and go, oh, that was bad. But if you're murdering the person in the game, you're like, whoa, I just killed someone. And I know me, and I'm sure you guys, we can very easily go, well, that was a game. That wasn't real life. But there is also a potential here for people going like, well, the more realistic the graphics get and the more realistic these games get with their themes and tones, you're right. Maybe there is like we have to be careful because we are...
I mean, I feel like even just like the war genre in general kind of makes me uncomfortable. Like even sometimes with like TV and movies, like just because like I'm in such a privileged position to never have to like experienced anything like that in my lifetime so far. So like it's just, I don't know, to get like enjoyment out of something like that when that does happen to people, like I find that really hard to like sit with almost. Like there's a difference between like a historical movie that's like talking about something that's actually happened or like dramatized it obviously, but like versus going and having this game that's supposed to be like for fun and stuff like that, like that happens to people.
Can I just interrupt you there, because this is one thing that I 100% agree with Total Biscuit on, right? And this is something that he used to say: games don't have to be fun; they have to be compelling. That's a direct quote, and I totally agree with Total Biscuit on that one. Games don't have to be fun; they have to compel you. And this is what games can do that movies and TV shows can't do as much. A game can compel you in a way. Like there are games that I've played that have left me like sad. You know, there are games that like have left me like devastated and exhausted and like, oh my God, but then they stuck with me because they were so well crafted. In the same way that Game of Thrones, like, would you say, I mean, I don't know, do you guys watch Game of Thrones? I don't know. But like,
I watch Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones in a way sometimes can be exhausting to watch because your favorite character's just been murdered and you're like, God damn it. Like, and then you get angry and now you want revenge, but that stuff stays with you. You know, and that stuff is memorable. And then you walk away and go, right. And this is why, like, for me personally, just for me, because not everybody's the same, but for me, I love games that stick with me. I love games that are dark and gritty. I will go as dark as the game's willing to go. Like, there's exceptions. Like, if the game's just going shocking for the sake of being shocking, then whatever. But I like horror games, and I like, you know, I like dark and gritty. And I'll go really dark. Like, Silent Hill games have had some dark stuff in them, you know? Like, I like hecka dark stuff. But that's me, and I can personally dissociate between that and reality. Like, if I'm playing a game, I go, that's a game, this is real life. You know, I don't play GTA and go, oh, this seems like a good idea. Like, no, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can do that. And I think the majority of people can do that. But
and you know what? When I think about, like, even just, like, the war genre in general, like, I'm kind of hypocritical because I love serial killer stuff.
Yeah,
that's not any less like
literally putting people on meat hooks.
Yeah, and like I don't know, I have a hard time with the war genre. I guess maybe that's just like when I'm like flushing through this idea as I'm talking about it, but that's like, and that's what never really sat with me with like Call of Duty and like some of the like first person shooter games, and that's why like I don't even really like watching them, but. To think that they're like getting more graphic and how much trouble they can like potentially cause, like I don't know, I just don't see the appeal. So
yeah, see, I'm the opposite. I love a game, like if a game can make me feel an emotion, I'm really happy with that, and I don't necessarily really care what that emotion is. What that makes, like I've had the odd game make me cry, right? And it's like I'm not a crier. It's very rare that I cry, and I've had the odd game make me cry. I got close with the Brothers Tale of Two Sons. I didn't. I did shed a single tear when I played, and I'm not afraid to admit this, I played The Walking Dead Season 2, and no spoilers, but in The Walking Dead Season 2, have you ever seen The Walking Dead games, though?
I think I know which.
No, they're beautiful. They're beautiful little games, right? And in the first... So, okay, in the first season of The Walking Dead, you're playing as a man, a convict, essentially, and you luckily manage to get away. You're going to jail when the outbreak happens, and so you manage the driver who's taking you to jail, he crashes, he dies, turns into a zombie, so you get away, and you end up coming across this girl who's at home, and she's waiting for her parents to come home in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, and you pick up the phone and they're on the phone in tears going like, we're not going to get home. So you take care of this little girl, right? And then in the second game you take control of the little girl, and in the third game she grows up a little bit. I haven't played the last one. But yeah, so there's this moment in the second game where the girl from the first game, who's essentially now growing up and having to, you know, deal with stuff on her own as a teenager. Well, she's not even a teenager, she's still young. And there's this moment where she calls back to something that happened in the first game, and it was just so well done that I was like, no spoilers. But yeah, like, so I love games that leave me with emotions, and I love TV shows and books that do the same thing. I mean, some of the books that I've read have horrific stuff happening to me. Game of Thrones, again, just to take it back, Game of Thrones has some horrific scenes in it. You know, I'm not going to get into the actual subject matter because, again, we are on YouTube, but there are some absolutely gross things and disgusting things that happen in that. But that's the whole point. These people are gross and they are disgusting. And so you have this thing where it's like, that is a gross person who did a gross thing. And then in a lot of cases, that person then dies and you're like, yes. And then you're like, whoa, I just wanted someone to die. I've become gross myself. But anyway, I love games that do that. I love games that leave an impression on me. And I think that this is one of those games that potentially could. And for me to say this of a Call of Duty game, which honestly, like most Call of Duty games, they all meld into one for me. I'm like, yeah, Shooty Bang Bang. Yeah. Oh, Shooty Bang Bang Volume 2. Oh, wait, hang on a minute. Shooty Bang Bang Modern Warfare.
What do we call it?
Great.
Bros with guns? Oh,
yeah,
no,
bros with guns.
Literally
Literally that. That's what I'm talking about. They are bros with gun games. I'm just like, right, okay. I mean, and I enjoy them to a degree, but I can't really remember any of them. I mean, I think Black Ops 2 is the only real memorable one for me.
I remember the end of Modern Warfare 2 because it was like such a big twist. But bar that, I'm just
I remember the twist in that one too. But
I had a grenade launcher. It was fun.
I feel like I haven't heard your opinion at all, Elliot.
Oh, I've been letting you two go at it. I mean, I have an opinion on it.
Okay, what is it?
I mean, mine basically comes from the fact that like video games are an art form, and like obviously it's still a debate that's had in the public eye nowadays. But as gamers ourselves and Twitch streamers, and there's for us, I can't see any one of us is going to be like, no, video games aren't an art. And the whole point of art is to evoke emotion. It's not just an entertainment; it's to bring out an emotion or give someone an experience. Or exactly. So like, if you went to a like you see some of these like art exhibitions where it's all like real red splatters and it's all like flashing lights and it's supposed to be like, oh, this is like it's rage and violence and video games are the same thing. Like, yeah, sometimes you're playing a game where like you play as a lizard with a bat on his head and you're around and you collect pages of books and it's all fun and lovely. And there's other games where it's like, holy crap, like I'm having to make decisions that impact other people in the game and like, am I making the right decision? Am I doing the wrong thing? And I think this is just I think the furthest anyone's ever been with that. There was a game a while back called Spec Ops: The Line, where it was things like, at one point you had like a mortar that was filled with something that's literally like a war crime. I can't remember. It's some weird chemical. And you launch it at this camp because it's been like, oh, it's like a terrorist training camp. When you get down there, you find out they were all civilians. And it's like, oh my God, what did we do? We basically... great white phosphorus or something like that. Like it just burns your skin away. Basically.
Oh, you're talking about like they use in Vietnam.
I think no, it's not napalm.
Oh,
so you would say like no topic is essentially off limits.
Yeah, fair, like as long as you do it. As long as you do
I
it.
was just about to say.
What about that game that you freaked out that they put on Steam?
No, here's the thing though. That's different. That game was designed to be. That game wasn't a good game. It wasn't developed well. It looked awful. And I actually went through that game, and some of you that don't write in the comments, but some of you might be able to know what game we're talking about. It was a game that came out on Steam and very quickly got taken off Steam, and it was a big controversy. The reason was that game was just disgusting, and it was disgusting for the sake of being. But
how is war crimes not disgusting?
Because
no, and when I say disgusting, it was designed. It was designed to be a bad thing. It was more of a. I wish I could show you it because it was like just looking at the subject matter, it was like, it was essentially just, here's a woman, let's just do bad things to her. And that was it. That was the game. Whereas, like, I agree with Elliott. Like, I do think that there is room for sort of anything in gaming, but if you're going to do something shocking and disgusting, you need to do it for a reason. You need to do it for, there's got to be something there. And in this case, in Call of Duty, what they're saying is we make games about war, and war isn't heroic. And war is grayer than it's ever been, so we're going to make a game that reflects that. And so they already have a reasoning behind them. If you were to take that game that we're not talking about because of YouTube's policies, if we were to take that game, let's just call it Game X, right? If you were to say, why did you make this game? I guarantee you they wouldn't have given you a good reason. It was literally designed to sell copies off of being controversial. And now, again, to a degree, that's okay. But in the sake of this game, it wasn't even a well-crafted game. It didn't have a point to it. Like, it was just there to be shock horror. And I don't think anybody would have wanted to buy it. Like, anybody that wanted to buy that game, in my opinion, would have been somebody
Should go on a list. Like,
yeah, honestly. And I've said this before.
Very
Like,
careful.
I am 100% behind, you know, almost any kind. I will play the darkest of dark games. I will play games. In fact, I will play games about that not about that subject matter, but I will play games that have that subject matter in them if it's there for a reason. If your whole game is about that subject matter, it's like, okay, well, what if somebody brought out a racist game and it's just like, we're going to be racist in this game? Is that okay? Like, no, of course it's not. But if you're going to have a game with racism in it as a story element, that's totally okay. Which is what people need to realize about Cyberpunk, which we're not talking about that today. But that's what I'm saying.
I can't with you.
If a game has a racism in the storyline, fine. If the game is all about being a racist person, because haha racism, not fine. And I know that's really hard to find the line, right? And you've got to go kind of like a case by case basis. But like, yeah, like
So
who draws that line though? Because you're saying like people are getting antsy about like different things. Like where
Well,
like
I feel like it's quite obvious. So like with the game that was on Steam, and like that was obviously like a haha, like this is really controversial.
I'm not talking about that anymore. I'm talking about Cyberpunk, like, or even Call of Duty. Like, who draws the line of like what's too violent? Who draws the line of like?
Well, no. Here's the thing. Here's the thing with any gaming ever, and including Game X, right? You as the consumer choose whether to buy that game or not. And if that game is marketed appropriately, it says, "Hey, this game has this in it, and it has this in it, it has this in it," then fine, right? But the difference is if you look at Cyberpunk and you go, it seems to be like there's some racism in Cyberpunk. I'm not okay with that. I'm not going to buy it. That's totally okay. That's totally fine, right? But when a game is designed about racism, for example, and the game is like, haha, we're going to call this game Racism Game brackets
Racism Simulator 2019.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Racism Simulator 2019, right? No, you can't make that game. You can't sell that. There are certain things that are just too far. And here's the thing. If you want to make that kind of game, go and sell it out of your backyard or sell it somewhere else. Don't sell it on Steam, you know, where I like up against other good games that are good. Because let's be honest, right? The games that I'm talking about that I don't think are acceptable are never made by good developers. You know, EA, Ubisoft, Blizzard, even indie developers. Like, indie developers are never going to make these. These games that are trash are always made by one person and one person only. They're never made by a studio. They're never made by a couple of indie devs, you know? So this is the difference for me. Like, I feel like any game with any subject matter is fine, but there has to be a reason for you making it. And if the only reason you're making your game is to piss people off or to be controversial, and again, you could be controversial in a good way. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can have a positive controversy. You absolutely can do that. But if it's just to be like, haha, I made a game about a bad thing, lol, 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 lol. No. Like, don't sell it on
I mean,
Steam.
I think you should be able to like make that game, but
yeah,
I think like Steam
Totally.
and stuff should be curating the things.
Yeah.
If you want to make a game that is awful and does awful things, and you want to try and sell that, go ahead. Because I can tell you that game isn't going to be successful.
It's not going to sell, no.
Like, people aren't going to buy that game.
Yeah.
So like,
But going
let
back
them make
to-
it because it shows that some people are dumb.
Going back to
Which
the
is an
Call of
important
Duty.
lesson.
Yeah, it's true. Going back to Call of Duty, though, the point here is that they're being very open and honest that this game is showing the horrible shit of war. It's showing the bad side, but the real side. And this is one of the things why I think this game is actually super important, is because this is what war is. We know, and I know this from when I did public services back at college years ago. We're talking about like 10 years ago. I did public services in college, and they were talking about it then because I got to talk to a lot of servicemen and women in the British Army because I went to Ripon Barracks for 2 weeks. So I got to talk to a lot of them, and even they were saying it's so complicated because you have, you know, what they're doing now is they're laying traps for you. They're laying bombs for you. They're sending civilians out with bombs strapped to themselves, and they're again they're having guns hidden from view, and they're even things like child soldiers is becoming a more common thing because that's the only way that these people can win now. They can't win in a pitched battle like they used to, you know. They can't. We just would win because we have better resources, we have more people, we have better guns. So they don't do that. So they fight dirty. And this is what I'm saying. This game coming out and being about warfare and modern warfare, by the way, which is the title of the game, right? It's like, it's going to show you the real stuff of war. And I think that's such an important message because, you know, it's real. And they're showing you some real stuff. And I'm sure they've gone and done some research with some actual servicemen and women and got some stuff from that. And they've done their research because it's, you know, come on, it's Call of Duty.
I would hope they have.
Yeah. So I think that this is a game, it's not going to be for everybody, and a lot of people aren't going to buy it because of the, this gritty realism, and that's absolutely okay. But I do think that there is a place for this game, and I think that this is the first Call of Duty that has actually genuinely interested me in years. And we spoke about this not long ago, knowing that Call of Duty is in a really bad spot, because Call of Duty, after a certain point, because Call of Duty was mainly popular for its campaigns at first, but after a certain point, Call of Duty became king of the hill when it came to online multiplayer. Like, it was the king for years and years. It was the dominant force. As much as I personally way preferred Halo, Call of Duty was more popular for more people. It was the one that sold systems. It was everyone's favorite game. And now no one can compete with Fortnite. So it's like, I think they are being really clever in going, hang on a minute, we know we can't corner that market anymore. So what can we do that Fortnite's not doing? And even PUBG's not doing. And all of these big, massive, successful games aren't doing. And they're going the opposite way. They're going back to the narrative, and they're showing something that's, gonna be remembered, which in 2020 is, in my opinion, a big achievement. But yeah, I don't know. If you don't want controversy, if you don't want that kind of game, that is totally okay. If you're somebody who gets upset easily, don't buy it. It's war isn't fun.
I think
Can they have a Dexter simulator? Because I want to play that.
I was
so
listening
you're
to
fine
a
with
video.
cutting people up.
I know. What game was it? I was listening to this morning. Cyberpunk 2077. The protagonist has Dexter's dark passenger. Yeah, they have the dark passenger from Dexter, but it but it's
I've never heard of the term dark passenger.
That's in Dexter.
I think it was coined by Dexter.
Dexter calls in my dark passenger.
I watched that a really long time ago. I don't know.
Yeah, he calls it his dark passenger.
I remember the internal monologue.
That's what he calls. It's what he calls his alter ego, if you will, his dark passenger.
Oh.
My biggest takeaway from this IGN
Dexter
story. Oh god, my Discord just crashed out.
We still see you.
Yeah,
nice.
Still here.
My biggest takeaway from this whole story, though, was like IGN came out and they said, we don't like this. It makes us uncomfortable and we don't think it's going to work for us. But at no point did they turn around and be like, this shouldn't be marketed, or it needs to be changed, or Infinity Ward needs to do this.
They did say, I hope the rest of the game isn't like this, which...
But that's a hope. That's not saying Infinity Ward needs to change it.
That's giving an opinion without really giving an opinion. Like, I feel like then it shouldn't be made. Like, people are going to freak out, or like being like, oh, it's really dark. Like, that's.
But nowadays, on like social media and stuff, there is so much of just like, oh, I don't agree with this, and therefore it shouldn't be allowed. And I disagree with that as an idea,
and I do. So I don't think that should be allowed.
IGN have come out.
Do you see the hypocrisy there? Do you see the hypocrisy?
I think you should be allowed. I think you should be allowed to say it. I just think I'm also allowed to tell you that you're an idiot if you think that. But. Yeah, I think like I'm actually really pleased that like IGN have obviously said like this isn't something that we're a fan of. We don't like necessarily agree with it, and like we're kind of concerned for where it looks like it's going. But at no point have they been like this shouldn't be allowed. I mean,
it just kind of like disturbs me of like who likes
it's no different to watching like Saving Private Ryan or a movie
what do you
where
mean? Who likes that? Okay, just think
like
about it
Full
this
Metal
way.
Jacket.
Just take a different angle on this. There are people out there that are like people that like horror are sickos. I like horror. You like horror. Well, yeah, and then
I don't like
Elliott
horror.
doesn't. But there are people out there that like if you like horror, you must be a sicko because a lot of horrors have really bad gore in it.
But I like the type of horror that's like beyond being real, like supernatural.
Oh, I like realistic horror.
Now I'm like, I mean, I like Criminal Minds, so I don't know. Like,
but this is what I'm saying.
But you know what I mean? Like,
it's more of a thing that it's like you say like people that like this are maybe going to be a bit weird, but it's at the same time like no, I'm really interested because it's like again, I want to see war that is like war. Like if you're going to tell me a story about war and you're going to be like, and Johnny went to war and it was all fine and he came home and he had lots of medals and it was great. We all pressed F to pay respects when he died of old age. I'm like, boring, fuck off. I don't care about that. But if you're going to tell me a story about this soldier who goes to war and it's horrible and horrible shit happens and it's a struggle for him or her, whatever, because they have, and it's showing you how goddamn horrible war actually is. I'm on board. I will watch that story because I'll play that game.
But like it's terrible and like people have to live
war
through
is
that.
Terrible,
and you're choosing to do it for an entertainment purpose. I don't get that.
Because again, it's not entertainment, it's to compel me.
But not even it's what?
It's to compel me.
Yeah, but like why do you need to be compelled that way?
Because I want to, in a way, I want
It's
to
just a
experience
story.
that thing. I want to experience that story. I want to see a story that shows the realness of war, whereas Call of Duty used to show you like a glorified version of war, which it did.
But it's Call of Duty. It'll probably be glorified.
I don't know. They're really hammering this point home.
By
that they
the,
want
by
to
the
show
sounds
the
of it,
grey
anyway,
area.
it's not going to be glorified.
And so this is what I'm talking about. That is so more interesting to me that it is going to be grey area. And this is what I'm saying. They're saying that some of the shit happening in here is morally grey. It's like you're going to kill somebody, for example, and you're going to go, should I have done that? You're going to regret your decision in the game. And it's not going to be as excessive as if you really killed somebody. But just think about that just think about that for a second. You're going to kill somebody in this game and go, oh, I don't know if I should have done that. And then that's like, oh, now I get why people come home from war with PTSD, because this shit happens. So you now have a new understanding for real world stuff. Do you see why I'm compelled? Do you see why I'm interested? Because it's like,
but I feel like I already have that understanding. Like
do you? Like, so if you already have that understanding,
well,
what's the
not as
problem
someone
then?
who's obviously gone to war, but
what's
like
the problem
enough
if you
that I
have
feel
that
like, okay,
understanding
that's
already?
shitty, and I don't need to do it myself.
But again, so for me, because I can dissociate a game with reality, I can walk away and go, whoa, that was horrible in that game. You know, in the same way that when I get put on a hook on Dead by Daylight, I go, whoa, that would be horrible to be skewered on a hook, right? It would, wouldn't it? Like, think about Dead by Daylight was real. Imagine you got, like, put on a meat hook like you do in Dead by Daylight.
It's like so far from real that's, I think, the difference.
But that's the thing for me, like I say, because I personally can easily dissociate between a video game or a movie or a book or whatever, between reality. I can do that very easily. And I think most people can, and not everybody can, but I think most people can. So we can go, like, you can get very close to that line. You can get so close to that line, you can make it very realistic. And I can walk away and go, whoa, that stuff actually happens in real life. You know, that was like scary in a way. And so I personally cannot wait for it. I think it's an experience that we have had games that have done this before. There are games that have, you know, military games that have definitely been like, this is very morally grey, and we have had them. But I don't think we've had a Call of Duty that way. So I'm super excited. I'm like, I want to see it. I want it to be dark and gritty. I want it to be real. I want it to make me go like, shit. You know, I want it to make me actually care about the choice I make in a game. Because most games, when I'm shooting people, I don't give a shit. Just shoot anyone. I don't care. I'll shoot them. They're not real. They're pixels on a screen. I'll shoot them all day. Do you know what I mean? Men, women, children, whatever. I'll shoot them all. I don't care. But I want the game to make me go, whoa. You know, like,
why are you shooting children? Just let the game ask yourself.
Yeah, you know, shoot Kid Simulator. No, you can't do that.
Anakin Skywalker over here.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, what a perfect example, right? Star Wars Episode 3. Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars Episode 3 murders a bunch of children with a lightsaber. Just murders them.
Well,
and that was like a big
that,
shocking thing. You know, it was like
Oh no, it's Luke that goes and takes out the Sand Raiders, isn't he? It's like, I didn't just kill the men, I killed the women and the children too.
No, that was Anakin.
Was Anakin?
That was Anakin. Yeah. He goes back to find his mom.
That one they have a lightsaber. It's not real.
Oh my god. This is the thing for me. I don't care if it's like real or not. It's the meaning of it that's more important for me. You know, it's the meaning that I like, and I like the aspect of that. This Call of Duty is going to show me something that a Call of Duty has never shown me before.
I'm going to be super interested to hear about like the fallout afterwards and like what people say against like violent video games again, and like
which this conversation
definitely going to be those people
all the time.
Oh my god!
But here's my thing though. Just think about that before we. I mean, and you're right. We are going to get people that are like, ban it. Just think about that for a second, right? We're talking about, and I know this is there have been so many studies that have been done. Violent games do not make people violent. It's true. They've done so many studies on it. There is no correlation between people doing violent crimes and playing violent video games. People who are going to do violent crimes are going to do it whether they play Call of Duty or GTA or not. Anyway, before we have this whole like ban the Call of Duties, just think about it this way. If the video game comes out and shows you how like horrific killing people in war can be, is that not going to make people think maybe my stance on like war now has changed? Maybe I'm not going to be all like, yeah, America, let's go war and stuff. Maybe it might actually like change people's minds on war a bit. It could be a positive thing. It could make people think twice before they like support. I mean, I know the average civilian doesn't really support war. You know, your country just does it. But do you know what I'm saying? It could open people's eyes and their minds a little bit to actually what is going on in real life that actually does affect real people. So,
or it could like further increase like hysteria and tropes and like all sorts of like other problematic things, but
I don't agree. It's a video game. It's not real. It's not real. It's a video game. It's pixels on a screen. I mean, with 4K though, 4K gaming, like, no, it's seriously though. But yeah, anyway, that's Call of Duty. That's the controversy. We have this controversy every time a violent video game comes out. There's always somebody saying like, it's causing violence in the real world, and there's no.
Think of the children. It's like the children shouldn't be playing it.
They shouldn't be playing it. We have age ratings for a reason. But
yeah, but those don't like hold anyone back. That's a problem too.
It should hold it, but like they can't buy it, so their parents are buying it for them, which comes down to bad parenting.
Yeah,
bad parenting.
Yeah, but everyone's a bad parent. Like,
wow, sweeping generalizations. Every parent is a bad parent. Just ban them all. Ban all
like
parents.
I had good parents, and they bought me stuff that was like rated too high. Like, I don't know.
Well, the thing with that is,
but surely they were like curating what you had. They weren't buying you like Modern Warfare and stuff.
I will say, I used to play games.
Well, then don't do that.
I used to play.
I'll tell you what, my parents bought me after that.
Yeah, when I was a child, I played. Well, when I was younger, I played games that I probably shouldn't have played, and honestly, it never did me any harm. You know, I played Resident Evil when I was quite young, and apart from giving me nightmares for a few weeks, I went back to it as a teenager and loved it. Now, obviously, you know, age ratings are there for a reason. If a game is mature, or I don't know how the American one works, but if the game is mature or 18 rated in the UK, you should be 18 before you're playing it. Absolutely, I agree with that. Parents should have more responsibility. They should be looking at what their children are playing. But at the same time, you know, it's like movies. Some parents are okay with letting their kids watch older age-rated movies. It's case-by-case basis for the parents, I think. But regardless, I do think I'm very interested in Call of Duty, and I think I think everyone is. I think everyone's more interested in this one than they have been for any of the recent ones. So I think that the studio is doing a good thing by making the game different, and I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, we've gone overtime. We were worried this week that we were going to not do enough podcast because we didn't really have like
You were worried. We knew it would be fine.
Yeah. Well, I was worried.
Like, it'll happen.
I was worried that we weren't going to have enough material this week because it's a bit quiet now. E3's finished. But we have gone over time. So, yeah, there is a lull. We have gone over time. So I'm going to wrap up. Now, as usual, you can find us in all sorts of places. Where can people find you, Elliot, if they want to see more of you?
You can find me at twitch.tv/BlindsideUK. It is shown here, I think.
Yeah,
there.
No, you had it. You had it.
Here, it's here. I'm also on Twitter at blindside_UK. And I'm on Instagram. Honestly, my only use of Instagram was when I was on holiday. I just did like a daily update.
I think it's blindside_UK.
It is blindside_UK.
I like how she knows your Instagram better than you do.
I know it. I was just saying, like, if you want to follow it, do it. But there's not a lot there.
No.
Unless you want to see some food and stuff from Wrocław, which is definitely there. But yeah, that's. Oh, I'm on YouTube as Blindside UK. I have started uploading to YouTube.
You have a list.
It's getting there. I'm trying to diversify, and it's hard.
It is.
I don't want to. Can someone else just film me doing stuff and then upload it to YouTube for me?
Yeah, you can get that. Did you just have to pay people for it? It's money.
You have to pay them. No, I'm not doing it. Will they do it for exposure?
No, God, no. Don't ever do anything for exposure. Exposure is bullshit currency.
Know what you're worth.
You can't spend exposure anywhere. I tried spending my exposure at the bar. They wouldn't take it.
You exposed yourself at the bar?
Yeah, no, I'm banned. I'm banned from the bar now. It's all those games I played when I was a kid. I thought it was okay. Taylor, what about you? Where can people find you if they like to see more of you? Wow, that sounded weird when I said it to you, didn't it? Like,
what?
I mean, like, she hasn't got a Patreon or anything. Where can people find you if they want more?
Twitch.tv/Atarkic. And that word too for Instagram and like everything. So
that word.
Yeah, and if you found my YouTube channel, if you found this video, obviously this is my YouTube. I upload the podcast every Saturday. I try to do more YouTube videos as well. They're kind of as if and when. I have just started a new job. It is hard. I've just started a new job as well, so the YouTube videos might be a little bit quiet for a little while. We are going to do the podcast every week still, as much as we can. The podcast is there. I'm not going to not do the podcast, but I'm going to try and do other videos as I can. But I also stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/TheGrumpyBrit. I also have Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all sorts of stuff really. Just add me everywhere. Just the Grumpy Brit. I'm either the Grumpy Brit TV or the Grumpy Brit everywhere. So find
just guess, it'll be fine.
Just guess. Just search the Grumpy Brit, and if that doesn't come up, put a TV on it, and you've got me. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. If you have enjoyed the podcast, as always, please like the podcast, and if you haven't already, subscribe for more weekly podcasts and other stuff that we sometimes occasionally do. And we'll see you all next. What are we doing? What's
Nothing.
this?
Just carry on.
Bobbleheads. Bobbleheads. Well, we'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.